again, similar to what I kind of said yesterday. Let's just say, for argument's sake, it won't happen. But let's just say, for argument's sake, the West Indies took three quick wickets. You're suddenly looking at, well, was this slow going necessary?
Yeah, absolutely.
So I don't think it'll happen, but that's just. I think Bear made a lot of comments about this yesterday, that this is all good and well starting like this, but if wickets suddenly did fall, question marks then would get asked.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, it looks as though Kemar Roach is going to open up for us after lunch, so we should jingle him up.
We should do indeed. He sounds a bit like this.
He ain't no dope, he ain't no weed. That Kemar Roach, he deals in speed.
There goes Kemar Roach.
John, just take your mic below your mouth level. Further down. It doesn't have to be right in front. Yeah, that should do. Just get a lot of breathy stuff coming through.
Oh, we can't have that. That wouldn't do at all. Well, Kemar Roach's first ball after lunch finds Sibley playing slightly across that, and it skews out into the offside. No run. Of course, we left Ben Stokes before lunch one short of what would be a first Test century against the West Indies, and a first at Old Trafford.
Yeah.
Here's Roach again into Sibley, who just sort of shoulders arms and lets that go through. It actually bounces twice before it reaches Shane Dowrich, who fields it with his pads. He's had a tough time behind those stumps, has he not?
Well, it's not. I don't think it's easy, is it, to wicket keep here? So with the ball going, I mean, the movement has been prodigious in the air, which is really good. And I was going to disagree with you, Mash. I think it's exactly what England do. England don't give a shit if they get 550, and it takes them all day today.
Here's Roach again, and Sibley thinks about driving that one, but in the end just kind of props forward and plays it a little bit off the inside edge, back up on the onside. No run.
They'd expect to grind them into the dust. I mean, they'd expect to. They might not do, but they'd expect to.
Oh, I agree with you. Do you mean if they get 550 batting at this pace?
Even at this pace, yes. And I don't expect they will get 550 batting at this pace, because I think once they get over 300, Stokes will go. You've got Pope who's a quick scorer. You've got Butler who's a quick scorer. You've got Sam Curran who's a quick
Roach
scorer.
Again, and that one's down the leg side and through to Dowrich. No run.
Yeah, no, I'm actually in agreement with you, Bear. I think all I was saying was that if they don't, I agree with you, they get 300, then you start scoring quickly. But say at this point, 2 or 3 wickets went, there'd be question marks about going so slow. But I don't think that will happen.
Yes, I mean, that is always a problem. I mean, we were discussing this yesterday, wasn't it? I mean, there are times when South Africa tried this approach against us in the winter, but we got through to the second new ball when they were only on 200, and then suddenly we took a flourish of wickets.
Here's Roach again, and Sibley again forward and plays out to short mid-wicket. No run. Are you surprised, guys, at the number of balls that the West Indian bowlers have bowled wide of the stumps in this Test match?
Go on, Bear, sorry.
Well, not really. I mean, the ball is swinging, so I don't think they're deliberately trying to set it out so wide. But I mean, Jimmy does the same thing. I mean, it's trying to bowl and trying to tempt people into that shot, isn't it? You know.
Here's Roach again, and that strikes Sibley on the pad. There's a muted shout by Kemar Roach. Holder doesn't look particularly interested. Roach is almost sort of trying to get his eye, I think, and say, please skip, review that, and the skip's making absolutely clear he's not going to review that. So
it was going too far, wasn't it? And hit him too high.
Yeah, it was too high as well.
Yeah.
Too far, too high. Apart from that, it was a good shout.
Yeah. He's desperate for
yeah, that was an appeal of a man who hasn't had a wicket for some time.
Indeed.
I think that was so high it hit him in the box.
It was just below the box. It was inside of the thigh.
Yes. Memories of the great quote about Glenn Turner from many years ago. that he's been struck with a nasty blow just below the thigh, but should get through to lunch with only one ball left. I'll get my coat. Anyway, it's going to be Roston Chase.
Yeah, Chase is going to have to bowl a lot of overs.
To prop up an end, I think. And Stokes still looking for this one for his 100. They're not exactly. Well, I suppose they've got a ring of fielders in to try and stop him stealing a quick single. Here's Chase, and Stokes just goes back and plays that back along the pitch. Doesn't seem to look remotely bothered about the fact that he's sitting on 99 at all, really. Seems to be taking it in his stride. We'll see. Will he be tempted? Oh, he's played a reverse sweep, and that's going to be the 100. He's reverse swept that down to fine leg. There's nobody down at fine leg, and it's going to run away for 4.
Oh, sorry. Hold on.
Caught Bear sleeping after lunch. Players out on the balcony applauding.
Okay. Sorry, I'm reading an email. I shouldn't be doing that. I'll have a look at it later. Apparently I have to do something so everyone can TV sync.
Indeed.
Which I will look into.
So that's his 10th Test 100. His first at Old Trafford and his first against the West Indies.
That time must always come, you know.
Let's play him a jingle for that.
10, 20, 30, 40, 60, 70, 80, 90, 100.
Congratulations, sir. You are a centurion.
Here's Chase again, and Stokes just props forward and plays that out on the offside. I wonder how. Was it? Am I right in thinking that Botham got 13 Test 100s? 12 or 13? Somebody?
I don't know how many Test 100s.
So Stokes is closing in.
I'd expect him to end up with more. He's a better batsman than Botham was talented, no doubt about it. It wasn't technically as good as Ben Stokes, I don't think.
Well, that's an interesting topic for debate. We might pursue that one. Here's Chase into Stokes, who just lets that one go wide outside off stump. I think some people might argue, Bear, that Botham was more technically gifted than some people thought, and probably could have batted higher up the order had he chosen to do so.
Well, I think the same could be said for Stokes. I mean, Stokes sometimes looks like England's best batter, doesn't he?
In which case, I guess batting at 5's not a terrible idea.
No, absolutely. I think that's why they put him up there. I mean, there was talk of putting him up at 3, but I think that's too much responsibility, especially if he's got to bowl something as well.
Yeah, I think that would be loading too much on his shoulders, really. But yeah, he certainly seems to be developing more and more as a batsman. Here's Roach into Sibley, who drives that one down the ground. It beat mid-off. Mid-on's actually chasing it back, and they're going to come back for 2.
We have some stats on Botham. Botham 14 Test 100s in 102 tests. Flintoff got 5 in 79, and Stokes got 10 in 65 tests. But I have a point about something like that. Remember, modern cricketers play more cricket than everyone else did, and I sometimes think that we shouldn't really compare stats between this era and anything outside it, given there's cricket on every single second.
Yeah, good point, well made, Merkel. Here's Roach again into Sibley, and that's wide, and Sibley just watches it go through to Dowrich. No run.
I think England get to 300, these two get to 300, and then fireworks start. I think Sibley's got to push on at some point. He's got 103 now. I think the goal is 300, and then we've got to push on, boys.
Do you reckon Sibley has to? I think they just tell Sibley just bat like this till everyone's out.
Well, yeah, that's true. I suppose as long as the other person goes at the other end.
Here's Roach again, and that's Played nicely off his pads by Sibley down to long leg, and they're going to come back for 2 again. Takes Sibley up to 105 out of 272 for 3. Yeah, I tend to agree. I think Sibley will just be told to carry on doing what he's doing, and others will be expected to press the accelerator. But we shall see. Kemar Roach, none for 50 in his 27th over. He's in again and he bowls, and that goes again. That seems to swing a little bit after it's gone past the bat, but doesn't threaten the edge in any way. I mean, Roach's figures look nice and tidy, Bear, but he just hasn't threatened the stumps for me enough times.
No, and he hasn't drawn the shot either, has he? I mean, that's one thing that Sibley does do. I mean, Sibley's got Herculean patience not to play at some of these balls. I mean, he does make you bowl to him.
And him on the pad, and he wants to appeal, and he does appeal, and they appear to have sent that one upstairs.
Again, I think that's too high. Probably going down.
Again, I think that looks hopeful to me.
Yeah.
I'm saying out.
Well, of course you are, Mash, but let's have it.
Of course you are, Michael. We expect that.
It's a bowler's review.
That was out. That was out. That was definitely out.
Was that definitely out?
I don't know.
Well, I don't know actually. No, it's too high. It certainly swung him. It does seem to have straightened a bit off the seam, doesn't it? And
it has straightened, but it's hit him right at the top of the pad. Right at the top of the pad.
Yeah.
It has straightened, but I think that's going over the top. And if it's been given not out on the field, I don't think that's going to be hitting enough of the stumps.
No, I think at the best it's clipping the top of the stumps, isn't it?
Yeah, umpire's call, you see.
Yeah.
Umpire's call, clipping the top of the stumps, so that will be
down. This.
Michael Goff gets to stay with his original decision, and the West Indies lose a review. I think.
No, they don't lose a review.
Oh no, they don't, because it's umpire's call,
Absolutely.
So they'll at least keep the review. Roach trying to see the funny side of it, thinking, how long will it be till I get a wicket?
Well, you must be thinking that, aren't you?
I don't know whether that's a smile or a pained expression or a bit of both, really. Here he is again to Sibley, anyway, and that's a swinging ball, but it swings into the pads, and Sibley plays it away, square of the wicket, and ambles through for a single. That's the end of the over. 273 for 3. Social media messages.
Yes, a few issues I'm having with Crit Tracker, so we'll get to that in due course. Leah says, what an excellent, if depressing, lunch interview. You just don't get that kind of real talk on TMS, indeed. Jessica says, evening gorillas, the AFL is done, so I'm moving to you guys whilst I play some Football Manager. Loving the Football Manager. Football Manager is my game of choice when you're watching Test cricket. The perfect accompaniment.
It just does everything in the background, doesn't it, Football Manager? You don't actually watch the games. It's just like punch a load of players in a figure. It's like a stats game almost, isn't it?
Basically just press the mouse a lot.
Yeah. That sounds like a pretty dull game. I like to be able to shoot shit when I'm playing video games, you know.
Farong says, evening from Dakar. Keep up the good work. Or Dakar, I should say. Do England want to bat again in this test? There's only 2 results possible. I agree, and I'm going for the draw.
Well, you can go for the draw, Mash. I'm thinking win.
We thought you would.
Not feeling so confident now, are you, Mash? Huh?
A draw means we retain. That's all we need.
Yeah, you do. I know.
Here is Roston Chase. He's into Sibley, and that's on leg stump, and he turns it round. Leg slips quite deep there. It's almost like short fine leg, really. There's no.
Well, I think England will want to go after Chase because they don't want to give the other bowlers any chance to rest. So they've got to hit him out of the attack.
Well, that one turned. That one turned from outside off and almost sort of pursued Sibley as he went backwards, but he played it out safely enough. No run.
It was too short.
Here's Chase again, and that's on leg stump, and that's beaten short fine leg. It's running down towards the boundary. Is he going to catch it? Yes, it's just going to slow up. Oh, but he's slipped and slid into the boundary boards.
I don't think he did. I think he just managed to keep his feet off.
Has he managed to avoid the boundary boards? They look rather disturbed to me. Let's have a look.
And now it's already. I don't know. It was already.
That's very close.
That one particular one was already disturbed.
Yeah, I think he's just got away with that.
I think he has.
He's just got away with it. He actually threw it back while he was still lying on the floor. What have they given for that? They've given 3, I think.
Yeah.
Yep, they've given 3 runs. So that takes Sibley to 109. 276 for 3. But I mean, England won't mind seeing some of these balls turn, will they?
No.
Dominic Bess will be rubbing his hands in glee, you would have thought.
Well, I was going to say to you, Mash, I mean, looking at the way this ball has hooped, I mean, I've been saying it all
Chase
morning.
Again. And that's off the edge. And fielded at sort of short third. I don't know whether that turned as well. Let's have a little look. Yeah, a little bit of turn. Came off the edge, but went pretty much straight down. Here's Chase again. Into Stokes, who leaves that one alone. It bounces quite a lot, but it was wide of the stumps, and Dowrich takes it cleanly.
There, were you going to talk about spin by any chance?
No, I was going to talk about how much it's swinging and how England are stupid enough to leave out Jimmy Anderson at his home ground with an end named after him for one reason.
Here's Chase again, and Stokes attempts the reverse sweep but doesn't get it right, and hits it into the ground. Oh, actually, he doesn't hit it at all. It's actually hit him on the glove and bounced down and just dribbled out on the offside. That's the end of that over. 276 for 3.
Some tweets, and then I'm going to get into a rant about West Indies leaving out Ricky and Cornwall. But Brian Barish says, "Good morning, Gorilla Nation," and a special good morning to Mash's Guns. Yeah, I'm in my for those who watch, I'm in my Jamaica, on my Jamaica sweatshirt today. You know,
singlet,
sleevelet, I should say. I'm trying to give the boys a helping hand. It's not working.
Here's Roach again. He's in, he bowls to Sibley, who shoulders arms and lets that go through to Dowrich. No run.
So you think Racky and Cornwall should have played?
I think West Indies fell into the trap of thinking, and Knuckle and I discussed this on the Gorilla podcast, of thinking that, well, we've won one test, keep the same team, blast England away with the same tactic in the second test. Dom Bess will come into this game as it goes on. It's going to take spin.
Yeah.
And I'm just surprised we chose not to include the front line spinner.
Here's Roach into Sibley, and that's edged down to second slip, where Holder gets a hand on the ball and manages to stop it. He played that down quite well, really. But that's more the area where Roach needs to target. If he'd bowled a few more balls in that area yesterday, he might not still be waiting for his latest test wicket. Oh, that struck him on the pad. That's close.
That's out.
That's close, that one.
It's close than the other ones, but I still think it might be going down.
The umpire says no.
They've got to review that, surely.
He's still on his knees, Roach. Holder's laughing away. He's running out of time to review. That was very close. He very nearly ran out of time there.
I don't think that's out again. I think that's gone too late and too far. No, it's not gone too late. It's gone too far. It's quite. This one's fuller though.
An awful long time to review that. An awful long time. Wow. And yet that was closer than the other two.
Yeah, but having just blown one review, you don't want to just suddenly blast through.
But again, it's high.
That's high.
Again, it's high. I think that's too high again.
It's a very, very, very similar call to the last one, isn't it? And
it's right at the top of the pad again. It's well above the knee roll.
That's going down.
And it's missing the bumps altogether.
That's a.
So that's even higher than the previous one. That's not even umpire's call. So that is a lost review.
That is indeed a lost review.
and now they only have one left.
That's really interesting because on first viewing, I thought
That looked closer.
I thought the issue was going to be it going down leg, not height. But
I have to say, I agree. I thought it hit him shin high on first look.
Yeah, it looked a lot closer, that one, but it wasn't. Here's Roach again, and again that swings and takes the edge and goes past the man at gully. It's being chased back towards the third man boundary, and they've ambled through for a couple.
Well, you know what is going to
Sibley onto Nelson.
You know what is going to be interesting? I remember Stokesy getting a 5-wicket haul with a ball that was hooping around like this. It might even been at Old Trafford. I can't remember where it was. I watched so much cricket. But very similar conditions to this late induck. And taking a hatful.
Well, I was going to say, here's Roach again. And Sibley stands up and plays that one back along the onside of the pitch. No run. I was going to say, bearing in mind the conversation we were having about all-rounders earlier, I can imagine that Mr. IT Botham would have quite enjoyed these conditions too.
Yeah, I'm sure he would have done.
Seem to remember him bowling out Pakistan with a ball that was hooping all over the place. I think that was his 8 for 34. That might well have been at Lord's. Here's Roach again. Into Sibley, who lets that one go. That's the end of another over. 278 for 3. More messages.
Over on Facebook, on the Gorilla Cricket page, we have Rose Forrester Brazan. She says, "Hi guys, big up to you, Rose. Rally round the West Indies." Over on Twitter, still waiting on for you to get in with your messages over on Twitter. So do send them in. How much do you think England are going to enter the GPL, or is it too late now? Or not? There's a difference between how much you think England are going to make and how much you think they should declare on.
Oh, they just keep batting, unless they get, I mean, there's a long way to go. And I mean, how many overs are left today? 60? No, slightly less. 50 odd overs left in a day. They've got to be thinking.
420 by the end of the day.
Oh, I think you'd be surprised how quickly they go once they start going. Once they decide that
Here's Chase, and that's beaten the outside edge. That's turned past the outside edge.
What?
Through to Dowrich.
Once they think they've got enough as a base that they can just kick on from. I mean, if Sibley doesn't get out yet, they'll just leave him doing his thing. But everyone at the other end will be, taking calculated risks to push the score along.
And Stokes plays this one off his pads. Out to mid-wicket and just goes through for a single. 279 for 3.
And if someone can get after Austin Chase, so they have to go back to the seamers from both ends all the time, they'll soon tire. No one likes getting hit around the park, and then it gets ugly and runs get piled on.
Yeah, you fancy that Stokes will target Chase before too long. Whether he'll do so successfully is another matter, but he'll try.
I mean, if these two add another 70 runs, and then Pope comes in, he's not going to be quick. And if Butler comes in,
and Stokes has swung about at that, swung it away on the leg side, and it's going to beat the fielder and go for 4.
It was, but it was Sibley because it's a right-hander.
Oh, it's Sibley, of course it is, because Stokes had just run a single. We're so used to Sibley not hitting 4s that I just automatically thought it can't be him, but it was. Took a big stride down and swung it over the top of short leg, who'd just come into field there, almost as if to say, "How dare you crowd me?" And swung it away to the square leg boundary.
If Butler comes in at 400 for 5, that'd be entertaining. It might not last long, you might fuck it up and throw it away, but if he doesn't, it'll be a lot of fun to watch.
Here's Chase again into Sibley, who just props forward and plays that out square. No run. They've now added 200. That boundary brought up the 200 stand in 503 balls.
It's a very valuable stand.
That one's fielded at square leg, or just in front of square leg. no run. Chase is already in again. Bowles and Sibley just props forward to that, plays that out on the offside. We're through another over. 283 for 3.
Indeed, finally got into Crit Tracker. So hello to Habiba and hello to Mahubka, who is saying, looking at the scoreboard, the way these two are batting with ease, it was a bad decision by the West Indies to put them in to bat first. Your expert opinion, please. And hello to Vinay. Your opinion on Jason Holder choosing to put England in?
Well, I guess he was hoping in the conditions that existed yesterday morning that his bowlers were going to bowl like they did at the Aegeus, but unfortunately they didn't. Now, whether it was the right decision and they bowled badly, or whether it was the wrong decision and they still bowled badly, I'm not sure.
I'd say
what do you think, guys?
Wrong decision, and they bowled badly, but got away with it. In fairness.
Well, they bowled negatively. To me, they bowled negatively. If you're gonna put a team in, then make them play more balls.
I actually think that. So you spoke about Kemar Roach earlier, and we've got a change in bowling. Alzari Joseph is.
We have. This man is coming on to bowl. Shall we? We'll jingle him up after this ball.
Absolutely.
In he comes and bowls, and that's driven, but more off the inside edge than the middle by Stokes, and it goes up to mid-on, no run. Here's his jingle.
Alzari Joseph. Alzari Joseph. Alzari Joseph.
I like that one. Yeah, he's been the pick of the quick bowlers for me.
Yeah, definitely.
For the West Indies, he's certainly made them play more balls than the others. He's in against Stokes, and Stokes has played that one over the top.
Oh, wow.
That's an unbelievable shot from Stokes. It's gone all the way for 6.
Oh, my word. That is incredible.
That's an unbelievable shot.
It is. It's beautiful. Oh, God. It's the first time I've been in the 6 cart, and Knuckles reorganised them all. Got a bit confused.
That was just nonchalant. He literally sort of took half a step forward and played it almost like a little chip shot, and it went all the way for 6.
Well, the thing about Stokes is his timing is amazing. I mean, you often see him ping it to the boundary with a minimal of effort, and it's all
he
about
got
his
that right
timing.
out the sweet spot,
Yeah.
didn't he? Here's Joseph again, and Stokes doesn't try and do that again. He just plays forward and plays it out on the offside. But yeah, there didn't seem to be any effort in there at all, and just a little half stride, and next thing you knew, it was in the seats. You would normally say in the crowd, but of course there is no crowd. But certainly went in the seats anyway. Astonishing shot.
Boom! Look at that.
Dear me.
Pinged, totally pinged out the middle of the bat.
And he doesn't even move because he just thinks, yeah, I've got that right out the sweet spot. It's gone a long way. Here's Joseph again, bowls to Stokes. That's a good ball. That bounces a little bit off a length, and he plays it out defensively. But that was a good ball. That was a good response from Joseph.
You know, Stokes isn't that much slower than Sibley, is he? I mean, there's I suppose it's 80 balls in it, but 70 balls. Odd.
No, but that's actually a good point you make, because if Sibley had gone along at Stokes' rate, people would still have been criticising Sibley.
Yeah. To be honest, I don't think it's the easiest way. It's not coming onto the bat.
Here's Joseph again, and Stokes just goes forward and plays it out on the offside.
And it was imperative that England, you know, if you put a side into bat, you expect to bowl them out for under 250. That's the old adage. If you decide to bowl first, ideally you want to get them out for under 200, but 250 is, anything over that, and you kind of failed in the objective of trying to get the advantage by bowling first. And England's 289 for 3, so England's job was purely just to pile on runs. And
you've certainly got to do better than the West Indies have done.
Yeah, absolutely.
If you're going to insert, that's for sure.
I mean, the ball's been doing stuff, and England have been a bit lucky
Here's
at times.
Joseph again, and Stokes works this off his pads, down to the man at long leg, and goes through for a single. And now he's on Nelson, and he's pinched the strike as well. That's the end of that over. 290 for 3. Joseph 1 for 70 from 23 overs.
We're only also 20. Well, they took the new ball at 193 overs, didn't they? So the new ball's only 22 overs old, and it's it's pretty green out there. It's not getting bashed about, so it'll still be quite useful for another 10, 15 overs. And as we saw yesterday, I mean, even this morning, the ball at 93 overs was still swinging. So,
I mean, I still am going to retain judgment until the West Indies bat, because for all I know, we're going to bat in our first innings and just pile on runs as well, and then it's just a dead test match.
Well, yes, that is true, but this is the thing, isn't it? This is where the toss and the first innings comes into it. You expect to get out 250 because you've won a toss.
There's
and you bowl.
chase, and Stokes swings this away, but with one hand off the bat, it goes out to deep mid-wicket, and they go through for a single. That was a strange shot. He sort of went to pull it and seemed to lose his grip, and it
squatted a little bit, I think, and he got on and then stuck a bit, so it came onto his bat a little bit later. So it's just through with a shot. But so this is where this is the beauty about Test cricket, isn't it? This is where it becomes psychological and draining on the opposition. You keep them out there for virtually 2
Here
days.
is chase again. And, Stokes advances, but plays it out on the other side. Yeah, I mean, I guess it looks as though at this stage the pitch isn't going to change very much. You just wonder whether the fact that England look like they're going to have runs on the board is going to create that scoreboard pressure and change it psychologically, isn't it?
That's the aim of the game, isn't it?
Yeah, absolutely. And Sibley has pushed that one out on the leg side.
If England get
Long leg comes
450,
into field, 1 run.
if England get 450, what a mash! You were talking about West Indies rarely score over 250 or whatever. They're 450 behind the 8 ball. They're thinking our average score in first innings is 250, 300. We're a long way behind the game.
100%. That's why I'm begging for rain tomorrow.
I don't think it's going to be a lot, mate.
Here's chase, and Stokes goes back and cuts this one. Fielder running round the boundary, picks the ball up, throws back in. Stokes is back for 2. 294 for 3. There's definitely an indication the last couple of overs or so that this acceleration that we've been calling for is coming just before the 300.
Yeah,
definitely. Yeah. Stokes
Here's chase again. Stokes lets that one go through to Dowrich.
I mean,
Stokes is definitely pressing the accelerator, isn't he?
Absolutely, and it's the mental tiredness, isn't it? I mean, you go out and you've been in the field for 5 days. No matter how you think you want to go as a batsman, there's a little bit of mental tiredness. You look up at the scoreboard.
Stokes just pushes that one back down the pitch and chases through another over. 294 for 3.
And you can get yourself to 100 for 3, but you're still 350 runs behind. A couple of quick wickets go, you're 120 for 5. Suddenly the shit's hitting the fan. It can go horribly wrong from there very, very quickly. Equally, you can get some. It happens less prolifically, let's say, but then someone sticks in and gets a ton and actually brings them back into the game. But often you see sides collapsing. Chasing big scores, unless you're in India, of course, where the ball does fuck all. It's just endless spinners. And India scores 700 after you score 500, which happened to England a couple of years ago. Kept getting first inning scores of 400, 450. You thought, yeah, we're in the game, and India will come out and get 600, 700, and then we'd collapse in the second innings. But that's India. It's not England.
I mean, ultimately, this game already is now either England's to win or not.
Yes.
Or draw.
Yes.
I'd have said,
you would think.
The West Indies win is not an option.
Here's Joseph again. He's in, bowls to Sibley. And that one, shapes away, but it's started off too wide, and Sibley can just watch it go through.
The one criticism of Joseph is virtually every ball is the same.
Yes, I agree.
He's bowling those good-looking in-swingers to Stokes, but once you get used to the swing, actually, if it's swinging into your pads and your Stokes and you like playing on the left side, on the leg side, if it's on that right line, you do exactly what he did when he hit it for 6. You clip it sweetly out of the middle of the bat. You either miss the fielder in the deep, hit it over him, or you get a single.
Holder wandered down the pitch then to seemingly have a word
Oh, I think he's had a second
I
warning.
think he's got a problem.
I think
He's
no.
not been taking out the attack.
I think he's had a second warning, and therefore he's been taken
Ah,
off.
he's encroached again.
Yeah, I think so.
Encroached on the wicket, and they've said enough's enough, and he's not allowed to bowl.
Isn't it a third warning you're supposed to get?
No, you only get 2.
Wow.
Uh,
Well, that's a big problem for the West Indies, because that's their most impressive pace bowler, who now can't bowl.
some stat attacks from the other room. England's first 200 stand for the 4th wicket since Ian Bell and Trott in Nagpur in 2012, Joe Root's
Wow.
debut. And remarkably, it's the first time England have had 2 batters on 100 at the crease together since Alistair Cook and Joe Root versus India at the Oval in 2018.
Wow. Which just goes to show how susceptible the English batting usually is. Well, it's Craig Brathwaite that's taken over the over, and
That's filthy.
that's almost a full bunger, isn't it? But Sibley was so surprised to get that he just pushed it back up the pitch. Joseph has gone off the field in disgust.
Shit takes wickets, and this could be
It
it.
would seem. Well, yeah, that's true. It might buy them a wicket. That one's just flicked round the corner by Sibley, and he takes a single. We're seeing a replay of Joseph encroaching.
Oh no, maybe it is an
Stumps.
injury.
Yeah, there didn't seem to be a warning from the umpire at all. So
No, maybe it was an injury then.
and maybe
he's pulled up.
he looks as if he pulled up with a little bit of a grimace there. So yeah, maybe he's got an injury, and that's what. Because otherwise, why would he leave the field just because he's been told he can't bowl? He would field, wouldn't he? So yeah, there might be a problem there for Joseph. So what with that, and Gabriel having had a problem with a groin yesterday, it's not looking that promising, is it really?
It's in
Here's
the bag.
Brathwaite again. That's short, and Stokes goes back and drives, but it's fielded at cover. But they do scamper through for 1.
What
Stokes.
backup options, Mash? Backup. Gabriel looks stiff. Probably can't play another test on a bounce. If Alzari Joseph's injured, who comes in?
It would. Well, Raheem is going to play in the last test no matter what. So that's one of the picks. So let's say Joseph's injured.
Here's
Raheem would,
Brathwaite again, and that's driven to mid-wicket. No run.
Raheem will replace Alzari Joseph, and if Gabriel can't play, they'll give a debut to Chamar Holder. One would think, but a lot depends. Say this is a draw, I wouldn't be surprised if West Indies make wholesale changes, because there's no need to now win the last test.
Okay, yeah, that's true.
So I can't fully comment till I see the end result of this particular test match. I was going to make a point before that. Though, yeah. So with Joseph now off, I think Jason's going to have to now just bowl. He's going to have to step up as captain and bowl a whole heap more of overs.
Well, yeah. I mean, Holder can go. You know, it's quite an economical action. He doesn't, burst through the crease, does he? So he can bowl for long sessions. That's what I mean. If they hit Chase out of the action now,
Then
Yes,
there's
Chase.
trouble.
Into Stokes, who plays that to cover. No run.
That totally backing you up on that, Bear. If you've now seen one of those pacers go off, hit Chase out of the attack,
Then-
and cause a problem.
Yeah, exactly.
And then you're really short of options.
And then you can score quicker as well, because everyone will be
Stokes
tired.
plays the reverse sweep, as if he's heard us, and that goes down to the fine leg boundary for 4.
It's Nissan She. It's Nissan She.
I believe we're
Which of
supposed.
course raises the 300.
Yay! So now they can go ballistic. I think we're supposed to be having a change at the end of this over.
I think we are, yes. Either this one or the next one, depending on how fast he bowls it. But
Well, yeah, that's true. I think I'm going to get into changing. I'm going to do. Now we're settled on this Zoom thing. I think we're going to reimpose changeover jingles.
aha.
Um,
Stokes has gone ahead of Sibley, by the way, with that 4. He's gone to 119, and now he's gone to 120, maybe even 121. No, they don't come back for 2, they settle for 1. 120 for Stokes, 301 for 3.
He's overtaken, hasn't he? Stokes.
Yeah, he has. He's gone ahead of Sibley, which probably won't worry Sibley in the slightest.
No.
He'll just carry on in his own sweet way, as he does, and as he should probably.
Yeah.
Some changes in the field. They're bringing the leg slip back in.
Well, he's not really leg slip. It's a man on a 45, isn't it? If his leg slip
Well,
is,
yeah, he's almost like short fine, really.
yeah, saving the single. Every spinner loves one of them, John.
Aha. And that's just played straight to that fielder that they've
Well,
just
that's
placed.
exactly it. Just don't give the don't give the single to the man just working it around the corner.
Yeah. Just keep him where he is because they'd rather bowl at Sibley. Yeah, absolutely. Here's chase again to Sibley, and that one maybe turned a fraction, but he let it go down the leg side through to Dowrich. It did turn.
We've had an email here which I quite like.
Aha. Sibley advanced down the pitch to that one, but couldn't do anything with it when he got there. So the end of another chase over, 301 for 3.
I don't know what this was to, but it was for Matthew Todd, and he said never argue with the bear, which is very true. Hang on now, you agree with him. Good decision. I think that was about Roston chasing him out the attack, possibly.
Aha. Indeed.
Nothing if not balanced.
I know Mash. We're all balanced on here. We all like to see our own side win, but you know. That's the thing about cricket, though, isn't it? You appreciate the opposition's play much more in cricket, I think, than necessarily in football. You just get pissed off.
I
in football.
agree with that, actually. Yeah, I think it's a good point.
Well, I think what you were calling for at the end of the last over is going to happen because Jason Holder is going to come on. Now that Alzari Joseph has disappeared.
Let's have a little jingle. It goes like this.
West Indies and Lexus never have been both. File mark captures with just an empty folder. In a perfect world, that have gone for someone older. Jason Holder.
And here is Jason Holder, and that's a wide first delivery, which has Dowrich tumbling in front of first slip to take it. Stokes didn't worry too much about it. Just let it go. I don't know whether he looked at their Holder. He seems to be stamping around the footholds. Bit of loose turf, perhaps, unbalanced him as he was coming in. And he's back at the top of his mark now. Coming in again. Economical run. And Stokes took about 3 strides down the pitch there. Then realised he was in the wrong position, let the ball go. Dowrich then tried to run him out, and he got back again. Strange passage of cricket, that.
Well, I'm not sure if Hendo is coming back on for this stretch. I know Tony is coming on after this. It's supposed to be.
It's not Fred who will be coming on.
Yeah, okay, right. Okay.
Aha. Yes, they're actually getting some sand for the footholds. He really does appear to have
Sawdust, please.
some sawdust. Yeah, he appears to have lost his footing somewhat. So he's doing some repairs.
Those are big bloody feet, aren't they? Jesus. What size?
Yeah, they are. So
17.
So you don't want them going in the wrong place, do you? Definitely not. I don't know what size shoes he does take, but it would be a pretty high number. Yeah, plenty of sawdust. Here he is again anyway, hopefully having got that right. Bowls to Stokes, who cuts that one away. There is a man out there coming in, but they're racing back for 2. Ooh. If that had been a better throw, that might have been interesting.
That was an awful throw.
Yeah, it was pretty poor, that, because he seemed to have it in his hands almost as they turned. But it was a good shot from Stokes. And he wanted 2 straight away, but I think halfway back he was thinking to himself, oh my goodness, if this is on target, I'm in trouble.
Yeah, it wasn't not the strongest throw, was it?
No, it didn't have enough vim, that one. Somebody didn't eat enough lunch, maybe. Here's Holder again. Into Stokes, who again tries to advance and squeezes that one out. He almost yorked himself actually, but he squeezed it out on the offside, and this time they settle for 1. 304 for 3.
It wasn't clear now. It should be evidence that Stokes is getting on with it.
Yes, very much so.
Yes,
So I'm kind of glad I'm coming off air. I'm going to hide under the bed sheets and come out when it's all over.
Well, I think everyone's going for it from the non-Sibley end until Sibley's out, and then everyone's going for it. Well, I mean,
there's definitely some intent being shown.
I think they'll up it a bit now, won't they? They're not going to throw everything at it and just throw away wickets, but they might do after 400. If they get to 400, then I imagine everyone will be throwing a fucking bat at it.
Yeah. Here is Holder into Sibley. Sibley drives that one up to mid-off, no run.
Something that I do want to, and it's not a critique of Sibley. I think it's a patient class is wrong. A patient test match opening innings. Does he have the range of shots though? Like some of the balls he puts in, like which get blocked, essentially checked drives for blocked to the field. Like, is he not able to pierce the field?
Yeah, it's an interesting thought.
He can't be choosing not to. So is it that, I guess I'm questioning, does he have the range of shots
at this level of cricket? Yeah.
At this level of cricket to regularly pierce the field.
Well, we'll let the new comms team pick that up. We've got Tony Bishop coming in as summariser, Dave Brooks on your social media messages, and to take up ball by ball, it's not Fred Titmus.
Well, it is. We're not sure if
Good afternoon, gents.
We're not sure, are we, about whether or not Fred is able
to do anything.
Aha.
Happy to leap into the...
In which case you might have to leap into the breach here, Tony.
Well, I'm going to do that.
Oh, right, okay.
Short, wide, crash through the covers by Stokesy, out to the man on the boundary, and there'll be a single.
I shall see you later, gents.
See you later, Dave. All right, Dave. There's another Dave. Oh, sorry, that was John, because saying goodbye to John. Hello, Dave. Hello, Tone. How are we feeling now, then, boys?
Ask another question, Bear.
Why? Are you upset, Dave?
Well, it's relentless, isn't it?
Well, it is relentless. But you're an Englishman.
Well,
reverse sweep. Horrible. From outside. It's a pitch on about off and turned down leg, and Sibley tried to reverse it, missed it, and it's taken down leg side by Dowich, no run.
What's nationality got to do with it?
Well, I don't know. I mean, I love the West Indies, and I wasn't unhappy to lose to them last test. Down leg side and there's no run. But my favourite team.
I mean, I'm looking forward to the Stokes acceleration. I think that is always entertaining, and you can see that. I mean, that 60 hit off Alzari, enough to get anyone off the field. That was. I mean, what a shot.
It was. Do we know what's up with him?
We don't. Not yet.
Because initially we thought it was a second warning from the umpire, and therefore he was hooked out of the attack. But
no, he definitely grimaced after delivering that. After delivering that ball.
Something must have pinged because he went off straight away, didn't he?
No, maybe. I'm not sure about that, Bear. Sorry.
Sibley comes down the track, doesn't get to the pitch of the ball, covers up, and it bounced off his pad down to the catching man on the leg side. I think it might have slipped, went over and called it as it ballooned off the pad. No run.
Yeah. Sorry, Bear. I don't actually know definitively if he's ineligible or whether he's injured.
There's another attempted first sweep by Sibley. This one jumps up and catches him in the grill, as he missed that one too. And there is no run, and that ends the over. They want to hit. They got to hit Ross and Chase out the attack, haven't they? You got Shannon Gabriel injured. You've got Azari Jovis is possibly injured or has had a second warning. That's too short and clipped by Sibley, but straight to square leg, no run. Which then leaves them with just Kemar Roach and Jason Holder and Craig Brathwaite, who probably get hit out of the attack too. So that just leaves them with basically Kemar Roach and Jason Holder.
Yes, and Kemar hasn't been firing on all cylinders, has he?
No, he hasn't. But I mean, it's just a tiring effect. I mean, once those guys have bowled a 6-7 over spell max, then they're knackered. Then where do you turn? If you've got two injured bowlers and you got to go back to Boston Chase, he then gets hit again. And they've got nowhere to go, and England should be able to pile on the runs. You'd have thought.
Yeah, I mean, it looked like the right decision to keep an unchanged team because they'd won, but as is so often the case, if you keep an unchanged team and conditions change, or it doesn't always work.
No, it doesn't. Jason Holder is in bowl short to attempted pull by Stokes. Bottom hand comes off the bat, and he ends up Q-ending into the ground. It goes nowhere.
Has there ever been a shorter gap between test matches as this one? Has there actually ever been a 3-day,
Yeah, well, apparently that's pretty standard, isn't it, on a back-to-back test? If it starts on a Wednesday, ends on a Sunday, usually starts on a Thursday, doesn't it? And that's exactly what happened with this one. If it starts on a Thursday, usually a back-to-back. The next one starts on the Friday, the week after. Jason Holder is in on the legs again, beautifully clipped by Stokes. They're probably a man out deep square leg. There's a man out a fine leg, long leg, but it pierces the two and races away to the boundary, and it's going to be one of these. As Knackle kindly points out, he says Sibley's reverse sweep is worse than Anderson's, which is saying something. 228 is the partnership. Highest fourth wicket partnership in tests at Old Trafford. Previous best, Clark and Steve Smith. And I didn't quite catch how many it was. Thrown wide by Holder as Stokes advances down the track. And left through to the keeper. No run.
Can we let Fred in? He's in the waiting room.
Okie dokie.
214.
Okay. Fred has been let in now. And hopefully shortly he will appear on our screens. There he is. I'll just do this ball. Holder again throws it wide. Stokes throws the bat, and there is no run. Right, Fred is back. You're ball by ball, Fred.
Tweet. Oh, can I give you some tweets, Fred, just while you get in?
Fire away, David.
Yeah. Pink ball fan, I think I know the answer to this question. Has James Anderson... Oh, sorry, I'm in the middle of an over. Sorry, Fred, off you go.
Well, I'm coming in the middle of an over.
Can't hear you, Fred. Can't hear you, Fred.
Can you hear me?
Yeah, now we can.
Muffled.
Holder, right arm over the wicket to Stokes, well wide of off. Can't even reach. Fire away, David.
Yeah, Pink Ball fan says, has James Anderson ever bowled from the James Anderson N? Definitely. Many times. Yeah. Brendan Roy Sparks says, disaster is the word Jason. And Aninja Dutta, who was such an interesting interview yesterday, says, are we looking at 500 plus then for a double perhaps? Ben Stokes for a double perhaps.
Holder bowls a straighter ball. It hits him, hits the pad, but Stokes had moved well outside the off stump, and I think that was missing off stump. Holder's got a grin on his face as he serves his wicketkeeper. The timer is inexorably moving down 6 seconds now. I don't think he's going to review it. They've only got one left, and he does with 1 second to go. Holder makes the key motion. My first thought of that was that Stokes had got so far outside the off stump, and it hit him, and it was going further down the off stump. But what did you think? Anyone?
Oh yeah, I agree with you, Fred. I mean, and Jason wasn't rushing into a review there, was he? A bit reluctant.
Well, it's been a bit better than that.
Oh, a bit better, yeah.
It's been just on the top of
high.
the bowl. He has taken an unusual position. I don't see. He's not got that far forward. His front foot is on the crease line. It may be a better shout than I thought. Let's have a look what Hawkeye tells us. Pitching in line-up, we know it came back in, and umpire's call is slipping the bail, so the review will be retained. It's only just considering the
You're inaudible, Fred. Can't hear a bloody word, mate.
Hello, can you hear me now?
Yeah, I'm not sure those mics work on a computer, you know.
Well, I'll tell you what then. You take over and then I'll think like it.
Okie dokie.
How's that, department?
Yeah, that wasn't. Again, they've been a bit unlucky with these, haven't they? Anyone have been giving them out. If anyone, they've had 3 LBW decisions. All have been held with the umpire. 2 have been clipping the bails. but they all looked a bit high and a little bit wrong when they were taken. So Ross and Chase over the wicket. Sibley advances down the track. He wanted to hit that straighter. It's fat inside half the bat and goes down towards long leg, and there is no run. Fred, you back?
Can you hear me now?
That's much better. There you go.
Excellent. Well, that's the Bluetooth headphones. Yeah, it never looked quite right, that LBW appeal, but on second look it looked better than on first look. But the review was retained in any event. Holder not looking very happy. He's wearing 2 caps on his head. Presumably one of them is Rustin Chase, who's bowling. And he's bowling round the wicket to Sibley, who goes back into his crease and just sends it back to the bowler, as he has done about 280 times in the last day and a half. So England have lost 1 wicket since the first ball after lunch yesterday, which is a long time ago. And if there was a crowd, they'd be probably beginning to enjoy this. Down the wicket comes Stokes, and he's driven this sweetly through extra cover. And there's nobody down there. Oh yes, there is. Mid-off has come round. They've taken 1. They're going to come back for 2. And that takes Stokes on. No, he came back to 3 actually. 131 for Stokes. 313 for 3. Let's run through some tweets whilst we're waiting.
Yeah, John Perry says the Stokes acceleration. That sounds like a dodgy Doctor Who episode from the William Hartnell or Patrick Troughton era. Ah, yes. You remember those days.
Big Bang Theory.
Yeah. Chatil Vadit Sakura.
As Chase bowls and Sibley defends.
Talks about Cody. I'm not quite sure what the remark refers to. Cody does it worse. I have to be enlightened there.
Reviews, perhaps?
But yes, reviews. Thank you, Fred. Yeah.
Sibley faces up to Chase, who takes a couple of steps down the wicket, tries to find a gap in the leg side, but there are a lot of fielders there, and he's picked out mid-wicket, no run.
Daniel Lawrence, we was talking about, people that have been given lots of chances to break into this England team. We were talking about Vince before, and
Chase bowls again, a bit shorter, and steps back and cuts to Sibley. Doesn't time it all that well. Extra cover goes back to retrieve 2 runs to Sibley, takes him on to 120.
Yeah, Daniel Lawrence says Vince was another one given way too many chances, fundamentally flawed at test level. Balance looked to the manner born early days against the subcontinent, but sadly another one undone though when up against brutal pace. Farong is reminiscing on Boxing Day Test MCG 26th to the 30th of December. Oh no, you're actually forecasting the fixtures, MCG Boxing Day Test and Sydney Test, January 2nd to 6th, so I didn't read the whole of that. Durban Oak says, can't hear not Fred properly, not a bad thing. No, we've corrected that on both counts. And Amar Butlin says, just woke up at 6:30 in Los Angeles.
Holder bowls to Stokes, who comes down the wicket and tries to slay him over the offside and misses the ball completely.
He says he's just woken up in Los Angeles, Fred. England are scoring at will and the West Indian bowlers are dying off. What strange world is this?
Well, it's most of the... Was that a no ball? Has that been called a no ball?
Yeah.
Do we know, is the third umpire already taken responsibility for no balls, or is it only after this series? We don't know?
Oh, after the series, I think, yeah.
Anyway, Holder, none for 54, comes involved to Stokes, who's hit that, he's hit that sweetly. Wow. In between the bowler and mid-on and down to the fence. A couple of bounces, one of these. It was a low full toss, and he hit it well. For a moment I thought he picked out the mid-on, but he was a little bit wider, and he got there pretty quickly, no time to retrieve the situation. 320 for 3.
That went like a tracer bullet, Fred.
Stokes, who is released from the shackles of captaincy like Ian Botham in 1981, comes down the wicket again, and he slaps this straight, very straight, only just missed the stumps. It's another 4. The Bear's got to get back to his computer to play the jingle.
I tell you, the crowd are in for a treat. Oh, they're not.
No,
crowd.
That's just us, isn't it? And about a dozen cynical hacks in the press box.
I mean, this is the sort of thing a packed house would love, wouldn't they? Ben Stokes going through the gears, getting to the point where he can really play his shots. It would have been rapturous.
It's now his second highest test score. He still has some way to go to get his highest test score, which was 258 at Cape Town in 2016. Stokes 139 now. Faces up to Holder again. It's wide. Again, he tries to carve it. Misses the ball. It may have been a slower ball. It got to Dorich on the second bounce, but there is no run. It wasn't a slow ball. It was 80 miles an hour. 324 for 3. Stokes is obviously showing a little bit of intent to get the game moving. I don't think England are as far behind as some people seem to be suggesting. I mean, there's 3 full days and a session and a half to go. So let's not get carried away with the necessity to put the foot on the gas quite yet. But it's just the way he prefers playing, actually. Holder's in again, and this is just dropped into the offside by Stokes. Takes an easy single. He's up to 140, 325 for 3. Any more social media messages?
Well, Diane Patterson's saying it's hard to hear you, Fred, so you may still need to speak up. I must apologise. We will miss his snide witticisms. I'll let you know if we get one, Diana. I'll nod my head.
I've been called worse.
And Neymar Butlins wants to know, can we get Willie back into the squad so we can get some hilarious Willie Holder commentary?
Holder ball for Sibley. He's not going to change the habits of a lifetime. He just blocks this submit on no run.
Peter Jones says Stokes taps it for 6, Sibley smashes it for 2. Yeah, I guess that's a pretty good summation of the last 20 or so minutes. I mean, Fred, it's not really the fact that they've got a necessity to get on with it. As you said, it's just the way Stokes plays. Once he's past the century, he's going to play all the shots in the world, isn't he?
Well, yes. He came in at a tricky situation when England were 3 down as Holder bowls for Sibley, who again defends, takes the bottom hand off the bat as if that rose. It didn't look like it did. He likes to play his shots, and he's shown that he's got gears. He doesn't set off his test innings, like a maniac. He's come into his own as a test batsman over the last 2 years. He's really a very, very high. I'd like to see where he stands in the list of tests, on form. I don't know the rankings, how long they use to make these decisions, but he must be one of the best test batsmen in the world. He's certainly England's best test batsman over the last few years. So.
I'll have to look that one up. Oh, we've got another comment on the audio here. Brian Barish says, great technological advance by Guerrilla Cricket to have not Fred commentate on a match in 2020 England from 1963 Dallas. I feel it's getting louder, but is everyone else
on the grassy knoll?
Yeah.
Well,
I can hear you well now.
Well, you lucky people. We're seeing a breakdown of Stokes' strike rates. It's up in this session to 93.2 runs per 100 balls, whereas it's been as low as 36.3. So he's moving through the gears.
Yeah, Farong has just come to clarify the tweet that I didn't understand. He was referring to the short backup between tests in Australia, the MCG Boxing Day to the Sydney test. Which used to start on New Year's Day, so that's another quick turnaround. That's a fair point, Farong. Thank you very much for that.
Yeah, obviously these tests have completely different criteria for how they're going to be played, and it's not an ideal situation, but it's the same for both teams. Chase will be bowling to the left-handed Stokes, gets to the outer half of the bat and finds its way through the gully region down to short third man for a single. 326 for 3. Tony, say something. It's been a while.
It's the first time you've actually addressed me, Fred, I think. Yes, England, I think, will be exceedingly happy with where they are. It's been patient, it's been deliberate. They're looking now to accelerate. And the West Indies, potentially 2 bowlers down. It could be a long road. Certainly 400 plus is on the cards. 500 is not impossible unless they have a real, throwing away of things towards the end of the day. I think if I was an England supporter, I'd be happy at the moment.
Chase over the wicket to the right-handed Sibley, a little bit shorter, and does get turned. He goes well down the leg side. Norwich does take cleanly. Two hats holder. Standing at slip. He dropped a fairly comfortable one when Sibley was in his 60s, which may be haunting him a little bit. Chase in again, and this is timed into the leg side by Sibley. Well, half fielded and then not fielded. The two batsmen have a little conference somewhere near the middle of the pitch, but find their way back to the ends that they started the delivery. So no run. It went past the short mid wicket and then was half fielded by the second mid wicket. Sibley came about 60% down the wicket, but Stokes wasn't going anywhere. He had plenty of time to get back. Chase has 2 of the 3 wickets to fall, which he took in 2 consecutive deliveries either side of the lunch break yesterday. Is up to Sibley, and which is again turned into the leg side where all the fielders are. There's no run. What do we think for Bess's chances bowling later in the game? There's definitely been some turn, albeit turning.
A lot may depend on if it rains on Saturday as well.
Again flicked into the leg side, and again the leg side ring isn't pierced, even though it's an untidy fielding at the wicket.
But I think if I was a spinner, I'd be quite looking forward to the afternoon of day 4 onwards.
Well, England should be looking to try and bat once, if at all possible. And this is, again, the pitch is on leg stump and goes well down the leg side for Chase. So there is a bit of turn there. That's the end of the 124th over of the innings. 326 for 3. Stokes has 141. Sibley 120, and let's read some tweets. No tweets. So Tony, back to what you were saying. Yeah, there has been turn, and if England do manage to get their way to 450 plus, which they would be hoping to do from this point, there will be enough runs to try and put pressure on without having to worry about every boundary conceded, which a lot of spin bowlers like.
Yeah, well, we're going to see Shannon Gabriel again, who, has struggled. He'd looked stiff. Not really, sometimes when you have had a fantastic performance, it's very hard to raise yourself immediately afterwards, and these do follow each other pretty quickly, these tests.
I think
you essentially could have done with an extra couple of days, don't you?
Well, what will be worrying him, aside from his looking like he's carrying an injury, the number of balls that he bowled that were incredibly wide, that some of them were given wide and some of them should have been given wide.
Harmistonian in some cases at least.
Well, that was memorable because it was a one-off. He did about 3 of them in a second.
He did.
He did. Right arm round the wicket to the left-handed Stokes, who edges this over the top of first slip. He had a real whack at that. It went very quickly and down to the boundary for 4 runs. Wasn't really a super shot. It was a genuine outside edge, and it went. Blackwood, who's quite small, jumped to his full height and beyond, and didn't get anywhere near it. It also went very quickly.
You're gonna
4 runs it is. 330 for 3. Gabriel's figures, none for 46 off 18.1. They may actually flatter him in terms of his run rate. Gabriel, he always looks a little bit leaden-footed, but he's up to the wicket now, bowls, and Stokes tries to pull the ball, which is not quite there for him, I suppose, and he wears it somewhere in the abdominal region. He seems to have lost David. I'll have a look at the tweets and see if anything urgent is coming through. Yeah, he went to swivel pull that, and he was a little bit late on it. He took it in the stomach.
I can give you some tweets at the end of this over if you like, Fred.
Yes.
If David's somewhat temporarily left us, I hope all is well in Oxfordshire.
I have to say that some of the most professional media outlets in the country have been struggling with the demands of Zoom commentary and Zoom broadcasting. And we're doing as well as anybody, if not better. It's Gabriel is round the wicket, and this is beautifully timed for the leg side by Stokes and down to the boundary for 4. Well, he's opening up. This could be something special this afternoon.
There's not one boy for me. I must have 2 or 3. I need 4.
Well, let's have a look at that ball. It was a reasonable length on that middle stump, and he just timed this in the air over the wide straight mid wicket region.
It was angled slightly, wasn't it? So he just gave him enough to sort of get a bit of purchase on it, and just almost follow the direction of the ball as it cut across him, and just guide
Didn't try and hit it too hard. He just timed it. It was never in any doubt. The 250 partnership, I think that came up between these two. Stokes is 149 off 300 deliveries. He faces up to Shannon Gabriel. And he cuts this behind square on the offside. The man from sweeping at deep cover point comes around the field. 2 more to Stokes. That takes him to 151, 336 for green.
It's also was a mark of Sibley's innings as well. Is that his 150 before we get it? We've got to just enjoy that first.
Oh, well done. I've joined you. Fred is temporarily having an audio problem as well. We're having our first Zoom glitches this afternoon, which is quite entertaining. But we are.
A few of us maybe. Who's doing what then? You'll do B by B, will you?
No. Fred will carry on.
Fred's still with us.
He meant David rather than Fred.
I meant David rather than Fred, because you can still free Fred.
Shannon Gabriel bowls to Stokes. It's wide. It's cut again. There is a deep point out there. Who eases to his right, and a single is taken. That's a no ball. We've seen a few of those from Gabriel through his career, and he looks slightly sheepish as he makes his way back to the.
You mustn't.
It's a real serious problem if the bowler's doing this throughout his career and doesn't seem to find a way of sorting it out. It's a little bit strange. Anyway, Sibley is now facing Gabriel. He's back over the wicket. It's outside the off stump and swinging away. And Sibley, for once, plays an airy-fairy shot that misses the ball through to Dorwich.
I was going to say actually about Sibley as well, particularly a mark of his knock has been almost the minimal effort. He's always let the ball do the work. Even his century scoring shot down the ground, he just leant into it and let the ball come off the bat. Very rarely did he seem to be forcing any shots and kind of aggressively looking for runs. And he's done his team a sterling job so far. As Gabriel bowls and he's beaten outside the off stump. Again, that ball held its line slightly, and Sibley played inside it. That's the end of the over. 338 to 3. We're going to have a little drink break. Mark Wood and somebody else. Who's that on the left coming out with the drinks? David, are you audible now, or do you want me to do the tweet?
No.
Oh, Lord,
yes, I'm audible. Yeah. Steve Kellett says, "Oh, the irony! After 5 months of seemingly being on one long conference call, what am I doing for Friday evening entertainment? Watching 3 blokes on a Zoom call." Neymar Butlins says, is quoting us, "If I was an England fan and the bloke yesterday said he's supporting the West Indies, I'm worried that guerrilla cricket folk are not fully behind the Lions. Your fundraising page is even called Patreon. Worried about lack of commitment here. Do you want us to take the Tebbit test, Neymar Butlins? Is that what you want?"
Anyone can support whoever they like.
Jeff Perkins, hello Jeff, says maybe Holder has a bowler's hat and a captain's hat in terms of wearing 2 hats. And Tony Cork, I think he's naming a potential band here, the Sibley-Stokes equation. Sounds like the sort of quiz question that you would ask, Fred, when you go through your musical questions from the 60s and 70s and 80s.
Well, it sounds like the type of band that Hendo would watch it. A particularly incomprehensible jazz quartet.
Nice.
I think I'll give them a miss.
Great.
Well, it's a bit of an odd time for a drink break, an hour and 10 minutes into the session.
Tactical, maybe?
Oh, well, no, wait, it's a longer session, is it? Because they're making up time from yesterday? Maybe.
Yeah, possibly. I'm not sure can we check what time tea is today, please? I'm not absolutely 100% sure on that, whether it's same as yesterday, which was 4:25, or whether it will be the normal
I'm guessing from the drink break it'll be quarter of an hour
Do you
later.
think Tony, Fred, that this game was effectively lost when two decisions that were made before the first ball was bowled, namely keeping an unchanged Team West Indies, given the fact that two of their bowlers were not 100% fit, and secondly, putting England into bat on a pitch where England have got a huge record batting first at Old Trafford.
Well, firstly,
I don't think this game is lost.
Fred, we are in one. I was literally about to say, I don't think this game is lost yet. I think that's interesting because I think if you were looking at it from an England perspective, you could so easily be saying, do we think this game is lost when Jimmy Anderson was rested? Do we think this game is lost because Jofra Archer decided to pop into his home in Brighton? Do we think this game is lost because Ollie Robinson hasn't been given a go?
The West Indies have got 25 players here, and they can't put 11 fit ones on the park.
Okay, so now in the position where West Indies are struggling and they do look like they're labouring a bit, and England have got themselves on top, with the benefit of hindsight, I agree it was
But Tony, Gabriel
probably
went off.
They should have.
Gabriel went off after 10 overs. Gabriel went off after 10 overs, Tony.
So yes,
he has been bowling. Anyway, Chase is starting again after the drink break to Stokes, who tries to drop it into the leg side, take a single, but it's too close to the middle fielder.
But just let me give a counterpoint to that, and I realise I might have to wait until, because Roston rattles through his deliveries quickly, but I'll make it after this next ball.
As Chase bowls to Stokes, steps back, cuts out to deep extra cover, and mid-off comes around. They're going to come back for 2 runs. Take it away, Tone.
Yeah, so just a counter argument, David, is one, they're playing at a ground they practically lived at for a month or more. 2, they came off the back of a victory and will have been feeling incredibly high and good about themselves, and were looking to force home a 1-0 advantage. So when you couple those two facts together, it's very easy to understand the temptation not to make changes. And
why not bat first then?
As Chase bowls down the leg side, good take from Dorich. As he was unsighted for the last quarter of that ball's distance. The other point, of course, is that West Indies, obviously they want to win this test match, they want to win every test match, but a draw is a very, very good result for them here.
Indeed.
As Chase bowls and Stokes tries to drive, doesn't really time it. He tried to hit it at the opposite side, it went down to the long on for a single. Because a draw in this match will mean they've retained the Wisden Trophy. It means they can't lose the series. So, and we're only in, as I say, the 5th session of 15 in this game. So let's not start making excuses already.
Well, statistically, teams batting second rarely win at Old Trafford. Have a look at the stats.
Yeah, well, okay. As Chase bowls to Sibley, who chipped this up in the air where a backward short leg would be. There is a leg slip.
I'm not sure there was bat on that, because no one seemed to get very excited about it. It would be worth another look.
I'm glad that silenced you, Fred. I haven't actually got any stats, but no, I was given some stats earlier that do prove that.
Well,
I'll try and find them.
If it was on the internet, it must be true. It's Chase bowls again, and Sibley's come down the wicket. And he's lofted this to deep mid wicket, and he's been caught on the boundary. The most unlikely way for Sibley's innings to end. And he had a big whack, and he's been caught on the deep mid wicket boundary, caught at Cal. Who had that in the sweepstakes? Well,
put that shot away for another 500 balls.
He tried to hit it straight, actually, and the bat sort of turned in his hand. It went out to deep mid wicket. He's annoyed with himself, but he shouldn't be, to be fair. He's done very well for his team, and some might say that a sacrifice from this point to letting the quicker batsman might not be the worst if England are trying to force a victory here. But the 4th wicket is down, 341 for 4.
Well, I'd love to see an analysis of, well, not perhaps every single ball he faced, but I was saying earlier how few balls he had chased or gone after or forcibly tried to kind of play, and probably one of the very, very few times he's done it, he's gone himself out. So
yeah, I do think he does probably he has shots in his locker. He plays more shots in county cricket than he has done. I think he's finding his way in Test match cricket. He's only played a handful of Test matches, and he's measuring his strength, and he's doing it by seeing as much of the bowling as he can. It's a good strategy for his career. It's actually a good good strategy for England in this game because they needed something to make sure that England didn't suffer a collapse like they did in the first test. So he's done all right. We've got a new batsman coming to the crease. He's had his pads on for about a day and a half. It's this chap. Yeah, I think, well, you know, Hanif Mohammed might have said, you know, you shouldn't have played that shot. There's another 300 runs for the taking there. But everybody else looking at Sibley's innings overall will say, well, you know, if you're going to get out, being caught on the mid-wicket boundary in this situation is not the worst.
Especially when you're on 100 and something.
That's true. A full ball from Shannon Gabriel to the new batsman Pope, because of course they had plenty of time to cross whilst the ball was in the air, in which he just blocks into the offside, no run. It's quite difficult to come in having had your pads on for a day, but on the other hand it's more difficult to come in when you're 30 for 4 and you know, the bowlers are rampant. So it's swings and roundabouts for Pope.
Ben Stokes is closing in on DCS Compton, who's I think 20th in the all-time top innings scorers at Old Trafford.
Okay, Gabriel bowls a full ball, actually a full toss, which Pope hits into the leg side, sets off like Kevin Peterson used to, as if to say, I'm going to get this first run, whether there's one there or not. But there was one. He completes it comfortably.
I think this will be an interesting test for young Ollie Pope as well, because he's been sitting there with his pads on for no considerable amount of time.
Good point. I wish I'd have thought that.
And he, you know, even though he's clearly capable of it, mentally now, you know, England are trying to look to get on with things, but he has had a couple of lower scores at Southampton. So not being tempted too soon, I think, would be something he needs to be a little bit wary about.
Yeah, that stand from Stokes and Sibley was 260. There haven't been a huge amount of massive stands of 250 plus for England in recent years. Nonetheless, they still managed to win test matches during that time. There's round the wicket is Gabriel, well outside Stokes' off stump, probably close to being called another wide, but not called.
Durban Oak, Fred, has been in touch to respond to Neymar Butlin's point about patriotism. And he says, I assume Patreon was all about supporting cricket. You should be able to support whoever you want in sport and not be held against you. Absolutely right. And of course, Gorilla is a broad church. It's a lot of England fans, but it's not and never has been an England fan show. There are indeed supporters of all countries representing Gorilla cricket.
Almost. As Gabriel bowls again, a little bit straighter, but again wide enough that Stokes doesn't have to play. I don't think we've got any Bangladesh fans, have we?
Oh, we're working on that.
Zimbabwe.
We have actually got a Bangladesh. Not on commentary, you're right. No. Steve Kellett says, time for an England collapse for the ages.
Well, it could happen.
Yeah. And also, maybe this being Manchester, what is the weather forecast? Can you see the Pennines, Fred? Can you see? Can you look out the window and see the Pennines?
If I could see it from here, there'd be some very odd weather.
Well, we had a look at the skyline, and it is pretty grey and heavy.
Gabriel pulls out of his run-up, and has he done something? No, he's got something in his eye. And there was stories of flying ants heading over this country.
They were in my garden about 3 nights ago, so they could well have made their way to Manchester by now.
Well, when they get there, they'll probably turn round and say, we don't like it up here. I think something just flew into his eyes. He was in his run-up. It'd be a bit annoying. His eye was fine. He's not that much of a run.
It's almost like they were gathering in my garden, ready to sort of take off on some sort of raid somewhere. It was an extraordinary sight.
Flying out central as closer to the off stump, but again Stokes doesn't play. 342 for 4. I think we're going to do a changeover pretty soon.
Ka-ching. Ka-ching. Nestlers has just won his bet. Stokes top run scorer. Don't count your chickens too early.
Oh, it's a long way to go. Long way to go.
But good bet. Well played.
I can't think who's. If Stuart Broad hits his highest test score, he can still beat this. I was watching YouTube of that actually yesterday, and what an incredible innings it was. Him and Trott put on fast. As shorter ball from Gabriel is cut through the point region, back to the point, out for a single. That is the end of the over. England are 343 for 4, and I shall bid you farewell.
Indeed, so shall I.
Neymar Butlins says Dom Sibley's stance at the crease looks all wrong, and with his 5 o'clock stubble, he looks like your builder who's doing a bit of weekend batting on the side. That was your tribute to him, Neymar Butlins, was it? That wonderful innings by Dom Sibley. And Brian Barish says, I'm an American fan of Australia, but I just want good cricket. Good sentiment there, Brian Barish. And GRAM-3, not sure I pronounced that correct. Oh, Graham 3. I can confirm a flying ant day in Manchester. It's a flying ant day in Manchester. So, taking over on the ball by ball, I believe we have another penetrating analysis from Gary Naylor, or is it Knackle?
It is indeed me, if I can make myself visible. David, I'll just get you out of shot while we sort all this out. We were doing so well with these smooth changes. You're listening to Guerrilla Cricket's coverage of the West Indies tour of England, and Roston Chase is bowling around the wicket to the left-handed Ben Stokes, who blocks it off a combination of inside edge and pad. Back to the bowler, there is no run. England were put into bat by the West Indies and are 343 for 4. Dom Sibley just fell for 120 of 372 balls. Ben Stokes has been brutal since lunch and is 156 off 311. West Indies, of course, lead the series 1-0 around the wicket, and Ben Stokes pushes into the offside, and there is no run. I'm Knuckle Mpande, taking you through till tea on ball by ball, and I'm joined by Gary Naylor and Mashel St Patrick Hewitt.
Good afternoon.
Chase is in, and a little bit shorter, a little bit wider, and cut by Ben Stokes out to the deep point. Kemar Roach, who did that very good catch actually to dismiss Dominic Sibley. They take a single, bringing Ollie Pope onto strike. Troubling times for the West Indies, Mashel, down to 2.5 fast bowlers.
In the bag. That's all I've got left. Really, to be honest, in the session that I was just sitting out, I texted Santoki and just said to him that this is what we expected before the series, in fairness. So now the series is reverting to type.
This was by just a matter of minutes short of being England's longest test partnership this century.
You know, I'm still saying though, wait till West Indies bat. I just want to see what we look like.
Yeah, indeed. We'll see how true this pitch is or otherwise. Leg slip and a short leg and a shortish mid-wicket, because the ball is turning for Roston Chase. Pope blocks into the onside, and there is no run. I think we've got 2 subfielders on the pitch. I think we've got Ray Reefer and Nkrumah Bonner on the pitch. Alzari Joseph, one of those off the field. It's Holder at leg slip and Shamar Brooks at short leg. That's a lovely shot by Ollie Pope. He's drawn comparison to Ian Bell with his straight drives, and Shea Hope has a long chase from mid-off round to the extra cover region to field. They come through for a single. The Alzari Joseph update, by the way, is that he's got an injured elbow. He's icing it. Obviously, difficult to leave the ground for scans in these times. Last ball of the over from Roston Chase, his 26th, the 128th of this long toil for the West Indies. He's in a little bit of turn, but Pope can just turn it on the bounce to Brooks at short leg. There is no run. England 346 for 4. Tweets.
Yes, Jeff Perkins says, are the flying ants a danger to the bubbles? Should they be banned?
How do you test an ant for COVID?
1970s horror movies about bees, flying bees. I think Peter Cook was always very interested in the killer bees. And Kerry Narden says, how much is Sibley being paid to play in the IPL? Well, I'm sure that's a jibe against Sibley's scoring rate, but I've seen him play T20 cricket, and he's quite an effective T20 batsman. He does a lot of kind of strong arm pulls through mid-wicket. You know, that same kind of
he reminds me a little bit
of harder.
He's a bit block slog, a little bit like a sort of less good version of Misbah.
He also bowls quite a bit in T20, where his pace off is handy. I've got a little bit of hope for MASH, which I might want to give you after the next delivery.
Does it come in the form of Shea? Shannon Gabriel somehow keeping going. He can't walk, but he can bowl round the wicket to Ben Stokes. Is on 157 wide of off stump, staying out of the hitting arc, which when Ben Stokes is on 157 stretches to most of the ground. There is no run.
I mean, it comes on the back of Fred saying, a draw retains the Wisden Trophy for West Indies, because it would mean that the series could only be drawn in the next test, and as holders of the Wisden Trophy, West Indies would retain it. So a draw would be a good result. And I always think you start off a test match with the view that you have to bat 7 sessions in order to get any kind of result. And if West Indies bat 7 sessions, they're going to come out with a draw, I think.
That's a long time to bat in.
It is, but that's what you've got to do if you want when you set out in a test match.
Gabriel round the wicket, a little bit tighter to off stump, left alone through to the keeper. There is no run. Batting in England has been very difficult for all teams, including England, over the last few years. I think the West Indies have stuck at their task, Mashal, but they haven't. The heads haven't gone down yet, but there is a sense of tiredness and creaking bodies.
It's not. Listen, this isn't a bad bowling performance. It's still, even though we haven't really threatened the stumps a whole lot, it's still disciplined. Like, it's still. England made 346 off 120.
Yeah,
we haven't let the game get away from us, so to speak.
No, although it has been drifting that way. Slip in the gully. There's one man saving one on the leg side and 3 back on the boundary. And Shannon Gabriel was well wide of off stump, trying to get Stokes to flay at one and find those open spaces on the offside. He does flay at one, misses. There is no run. So yeah, the square leg was in a single saving position, and then long leg, deep square leg, and mid wicket were on the boundary. It's very much like a T20 field.
Well, if you're Jason Holder right now, I'm aiming to keep England batting for the rest of the day. I'm not even going to give them a chance to declare at any point today. England probably want 500 plus. So just play defensive cricket and make sure they go in.
I think that's what Gabriel's doing. You see there's the slip, the gully, the extra cover of the mid-wicket. Then everyone else is back on the boundary at deep point, cover, long off, long on, deep square leg and long leg. That would have been an absolutely wonderful catch at gully. It was into the body of Ben Stokes, and he guided it away off the middle of the bat towards gully, and Shea Hope flung himself horizontal in mid-air to his left and just couldn't hang on. Stokes dropped on Kevin Peterson's favourite number, 158, but what a catch that would have been. Very unlucky for Shea Hope. Actually got there with 2 hands. Hell of an effort. Am I letting Shea Hope off too easily, or is that just a hell of an effort that didn't quite work?
I think it's a good attempt by him. Remember, he is a wicket keeper as well.
Not a very good one.
Judging by Shannon Gabriel's reaction, he thought that should have been taken, mine.
Yeah, he did the hard bit in a sense, getting both hands to it, but fantastic athleticism from Shea Hope. But Stokes technically dropped on 157. Ollie Pope on strike. A slightly more attacking field now, 2 slips and a gully. Square leg comes up, I think, as Nkrumah Bonner, the subfielder. Gabriel in 5th ball over a very full, ends up as a full toss, and that's feathered through the offside by Ollie Pope. It might not have the legs to make the boundary. No, Roston Chase accompanies it back to the deep point boundary. Pope not trying to hit the ball too hard, and they come through for 3. The run's starting to leak for the West Indies. England bring up the 350 in the 129th over, but the scoring rate since lunch has to be a concern for the West Indies, Gary.
Yeah, and I think part of that is the way Ollie Pope has played since he came in. He's still making his way in Test cricket, and he's certainly not playing for his average, because he's playing a shot of ball at the moment. This is good to see from the young Surrey lad.
I think it's been very unselfish from England. I think Sibley's dismissal was an unselfish dismissal, and fitting of the match situation with the batters to come and how well Stokes is going on 158. Of course, 100 short of his Test best. And Ben Stokes middles a leave on the bounce to gully. There is no run. England 350 for 4.
Yeah, we've got some tweets coming in. Carla Sayaman says, I'm a South African supporting guerrilla cricket, supporting West Indies. And then hashtags it perfectly, variety, hashtag spice of life. Brian Barish says, Reed Joseph, I imagine that if he were to leave for scans, they might not let him back into the ground.
Well, I think that's exactly the point. We saw this with, who was it for England? John Campbell in the first test. They just tried to ice it and get through it.
Nestle Boy, is your nose ready to have some smoke blown up it there, Mash? Because he says, I have been much enjoying Mash's podcast. Well worth a listen for gorilla-type folks. Caribbean cricket podcast.
It's very good.
I know I want to catch up with that at some point as well, Mash.
Yeah, cheers, Nestlers.
Ruston Chase is he's continuing, right? He's continuing this.
One final word on the ants. Jeff Perkins talks about, well, they have antibodies.
Very good. That's very good footwork from Ollie Pope. He comes down the wicket and then he's slightly defeated by the drift from Ruston Chase and has to adjust his feet to make sure he doesn't run past it and pushes a single into the onside Shea Hope field. There is no run. You know what we haven't had all day? Ben Stokes' jingle. Here we go.
Ben? Ben Stokes.
It's pretty much a scatter field. There's a holder at slip. There's a sort of third man halfway back to the boundary, a mid-off and a mid-on who are quite deep, and then everyone else is back on the leg side. It's again a bit of cat and mouse. Stokes trying to charge Ruston Chase. Chase dropping it shorter, a little bit wider, and Stokes blocking it into the offside. There is no run. I agree with you, Mash, and we talked about this that Ruston Chase has done very well, but he's no substitute for a proper off spinner in Raheem Cornwall. This is back of a length from Chase, and he punches this on the bounce to mid wicket, and there is no run.
Yeah, and I'm flabbergasted because this has been spoken about for the whole week about Raheem Cornwall.
Chase in, fourth ball of the over, very short and very slow and very wide, and Stokes has to wait an age for it and slaps it down the ground. So slow was it that he ended up playing a cut down to long off where John Campbell fields. They come through for a single. Yeah, I'm not actually terribly surprised that Raheem Cornwall's not playing. I see how they got to that decision, but I do think it was a mistake.
Yeah, particularly when you're asking bowlers to go back to back, and you know that one of them's coming off a 7-month injury,
and the other one's hasn't taken a test wicket since September in Kemar Roach. Leg slip and a short leg in place. Oh, and that one's turned and been trapped, but literally on the pad, trapped between his pads by Ollie Pope. A slightly villagey dismissal. It's been given out on field. I wonder if they're going to review this. My suspicion is that's turning down leg. I don't know how you guys saw it.
Yeah, goodbye.
No, he's been told not to review it. England only have 2 left, and the first wave of the cavalry has been stopped in its tracks, and Ruston Chase has plugged away and has got himself another wicket. Fair play to him, but I still think that he needed the support of Raheem Cornwall. But fair play to Ruston Chase. He's pretty much holding this together single-handedly. 352 for 5. Ollie Pope gone for 7 off 8. LBW to Ruston Chase. Wrong jingle. Wrong jingle. There we go. Hard to read much into that innings.
Well, I think he played for the team. He was looking to score quickly in a situation in which quick runs are the order of the day. England are going to get 400 even if everybody gets out pretty quickly. So, it's 400's a decent score. They obviously want 450, 480 perhaps. But that was a strange shot to get out to. Maybe it's the shot of a man who's spent the best part of an entire day wondering if he's in next ball and then is not in next ball, and then all of a sudden is in next ball. But it was a curate's egg of an innings, but it was far better that than poking around for a bit.
Yeah, and a man who surely in this situation at 352 for 5 won't do any poking around. If anybody criticises Joss Butler for getting out playing an attacking shot in this circumstance, they need their head examining.
Pryor ain't no loss, 'cause we found someone Sutler. Okay, he can't spell Joss, but he also can't spell Butler. Joss Butler, just because he is Joss Butler. One S and two T's, Joss Butler.
Seeing this on screen now, it is turning, and it's umpire's call on the outside of leg stump. So if they had reviewed, the review would have been retained, but the wicket would not have been. Butler facing up to Roston Chase. That one turns alarmingly from a middle stump down the leg side and bounces, and it's a good stop by Shane Dowrich, who's not had an easy day or day and a half really behind the stumps, but has performed pretty admirably. A wicket for Roston Chase. That's 4 for him. Another fantastic performance against England. 4 for 92 in 28 overs for him. England 352 for 5. Social media messages, please.
Yes, so Leah, the wicket witch, says, so rain tomorrow wouldn't be the worst for 2 reasons. West Indies get a shot at retaining the Wisdom Trophy, and I could probably experience that glorious mad thing down in South Africa with Gorilla South Africa.
Oh yes, the 3-team cricket match that's happening tomorrow to raise some money.
Of course. Dave Sarah says, if Joseph goes away for a scan, do they get a COVID sub? Any chance of getting Raheem in? We all want it.
You only get COVID subs for COVID, as it turns out. Gabriel into Stokes, who batters this off the back foot. There is going to be a deep point out there, and they only managed to come through for the single. Stokes moves to 160. Butler yet to score, only off 1 ball faced. 353 for 5.
Woy Pom says, I think Mash is being a bit pessimistic. This match may get batted out to a snore draw. The collapse is on now anyway. So
England being all out by the end of the day wouldn't be a bad thing for them, I don't think.
Yeah, England wouldn't mind that. I want to keep England batting still.
I think the ideal result for England here is to be sort of 470 all out with about 45 minutes play left in the day.
Yeah, agreed. Long day today, of course. Shannon Gabriel coming in 2 slips to Joss Butler, yet to score off the 1 ball faced, and it's a very full delivery from Gabriel, and Butler digs this out at 89 miles an hour up to mid-on. There is no run.
Messi Jazz is on the ball as ever. I've got to read you this tweet. It says, fantastic example of double commentator's curse. Gary praising Pope for his approach after only 6 balls, then Knackle dissing Roach for not having taken a wicket since the Pleistocene era. Exit Pope.
Would like to point out that Kemar Roach did not take that wicket.
He did a thing. Oh no, he took the catch.
He took a good
Sibley.
catch to dismiss Dom Sibley. So let's come to that after this ball about Roston Chase, as Gabriel is in to Joss Butler, who defends from the crease up to Shamar Brooks at mid on. There is no run. I aim no criticism at Roston Chase. I think he's bowled really well in the circumstances, particularly with the fast bowlers bowling around him, and I think he, more than anyone, has kept England in check. Certainly since lunch, but the pitch is turning, and it was not unforeseeable that the pitch would turn, and I think the West Indies may rue not picking Raheem Cornwall. An off spinner and a half, as it were, with Cornwall and Chase, as Gabriel's in well wide of off stump. Butler leaves alone through to the keeper. There is no run. Obviously people are going to be wanting Butler to play a shot a minute, but even in his best one-day international and T20 innings, Joss Butler doesn't go from ball 1.
You're being a little harsh on Roston Chase. I mean, he has bowled West Indies to a victory over England with his 8 wickets.
He has. He has. He's bowled.
I think he's a good bowler. I know he's a sort of number 5 who's bowling, but I think he's a decent bowler. He gets a bit of bounce. He gets good rotation over that front leg. He's not an off-spinner deluxe, but I think he's an all-rounder rather than a batsman who bowls.
As Gabriel's in 5th ball of the over rather, and dives through outside off stump to Dowrich. There is no run. Yeah, I know. I think he's in the batting all-rounder category, but Raheem Cornwall is a bowling all-rounder. I think the distinction is not lost. I think Chase and Cornwall would have been really interesting bowling together on this pitch.
Most definitely, and West Indies will have a lot to think about going forward as to the makeup of their test team, but I don't think this is, like I say, I'm not despondent here. They've already done better than I expect. Well, I said 2 on defeat, but they've done better than a lot of people expected by picking up the first test match and go 1 up.
And they were superb during it. Last ball of the over from Shannon Gabriel strikes Butler on the pad. I'm sure that's going down leg, and so is Michael Gough. He says not out. A little bit of swing though from Shannon Gabriel. Big grins all round between the West Indians. Jason Holder's reviewed with a look on his face that says, oh, might as well.
That was out. That was out. That was definitely out.
Was that definitely out?
I don't know.
I think that was not out. It's not a no ball from Shannon. Ooh, is it? It's just not a no ball from Shannon Gabriel. You always have to be a little bit careful with Big Shannon. I think as that foot lands, there's a tiny bit of heel behind the line. Richard Kettleborough will have to adjudicate on that. I think from that frame we can say that it isn't a no ball. Remember, it was given not out on field by Michael Goff, so it would have to be conclusively proved to be hitting the stumps for the decision to be overturned. Kettleborough's rocking and rolling this no ball a lot. I think there's something behind the line. We're seeing now from the other side, from I'm not quite sure what we're going to be able to tell looking through Ben Stokes' back at Shannon Gabriel's foot. The longer this goes on, you think the longer this is likely to be called.
Got to give benefit to the bowler there. Why is it, if you're taking this long to try and decide a no ball, give it to the bowler?
Well, we are now looking down the other end. It's hit him on the knee roll in front of sort of middle and leg. I don't think this has a lot going for it. Maybe umpire's call.
Looking at best.
Butler was caught on the crease. It was a big in-swinger from Shannon Gabriel. Not a bowler usually renowned for swinging the ball. We're seeing it now. It's hit him in line and it's going down leg. West Indies have no reviews left. Holder not had a good test match with the reviews. Michael Goff, though, the standing umpire brought into this game, has had a very good test match, I think. End of 131 overs, England 353 for 5.
Jeff Perkins asks whether Gorilla South Africa are having a threesome tomorrow.
Yeah, this three-team Solidarity Cup that they're broadcasting in all its mad glory. Keep those social media messages coming, Gary, and try.
Well, there aren't any more on Twitter. I can just report a slightly amusing conversation for some of you that I had with my elder boy Jesper about 10 minutes before.
Chase comes into Ben Stokes, who's slightly becalmed since Ollie Pope came to the crease. A little bit of drift from Roston Chase, who is bowling very well and is a redoubtable cricketer. He gets a little bit of drift, a bit of bounce, a little bit of turn. Blocked by Stokes into the offside. There is no run. Roston Chase certainly not letting anybody down. Has been the pick of the West Indies bowlers in this test match. Ooh, that's a beauty from Chase. There are those footmarks outside the left-handers off stump, and that one hit one of them after drifting and dipping into it and ripped past the outside edge. In fact, it turned off the main part of the pitch. Dominic Bess will be licking his lips. Third ball of the over from Chase. Wonder how long it's going to be before Stokes has a go at one. That's too short and very well fielded actually by I think that's Blackwood at extra cover, as it was battered straight to him by Ben Stokes. That was easily one that could have squirted through the fielder, and there is no run. Third ball of the over from Roston Chase, who Stokes stretching forward. A bit of a yes-no and almost a strategy meeting mid-wicket as Stokes and Butler run, but they do manage to come through for the single. I think the Sky score has frozen, which is deeply unhelpful because Stokes, I'm sure, is now on 161.
So Jesper came in and said, I'm meeting friends later. He said, at the Hurlingham Club. He said, is that posh? So I said, yes it is.
Is he a polo player?
Well, as he said,
Big horse.
It's Durham University, so
very posh.
Yeah.
2 balls left of the over from Roston Chase. Josh Butler yet to get off the mark. Has only faced 6 balls, and he turns this on the bounce to Shamar Brooks at short leg. There's a leg slip and a short leg and a shortish, straightish mid-wicket for Josh Butler as Roston Chase continues this admirable spell. There's also an orthodox mid-wicket. 2 men up in the offside are at backward point and mid-off. That one's turned a very long way from outside off stump, and Butler didn't really know what to do with it and flailed it into the gap down to long leg. That might have even come off the pat. No, it's come off the bat. Butler is off the mark with 1. Stokes 161. England 3 155 for 5.
Dave Sarah says, what percentage fit do we think Shannon was yesterday morning? 70%? And who would have replaced him? The famous Irishman, perhaps, O'Shane Thomas.
No, it would have been Raheem Cornwall if someone had gone down ill, injured, right, Mash?
Yeah, or if they wanted another fast bowler, it would have been Jamar Holder. But yeah, Shannon, I reckon, was about 85% and probably told them he's good to go. So yeah, I think, like I say, in hindsight, Jason will look back and go, why didn't he give his bowlers a rest? But you know, it is what it is.
Yeah. I'm kind of going to agree with you and not agree with you, Mash, because I thought yesterday Shannon Gabriel probably was at 70%, but I also think that at its best he's only at 85%, so we kind of agree and don't agree, if you see what I mean.
Yeah, I thought he looked fitter at Southampton than I've seen him for a long time. I think
Me too.
Weird way that break has done him good. That's full outside off stump, and that's actually a really good stop from the half stop from the man at extra cover. Butler reached for this and timed it very well with a handsy drive, whipping his hands through the line of the ball. Those fantastic wrists of his, but a good half stop at extra cover means there's only a single, save 3 runs.
Yeah, I think at Southampton there was a lot of will involved in it. Was a tremendous performance from Shannon Gabriel, but in the field he looked very stiff. And
he always does.
He looked like he was struggling a bit in the field, but once he had ball in hand, he willed himself to the crease and bowled very fast. But he can only do that for so long, I think.
Yeah, absolutely. Shannon Gabriel, not necessarily built for endurance. Slipping a gully to Ben Stokes and a mid-wicket. Pretty much everyone else is back, apart from the extra cover. As Gabriel's into Ben Stokes, who leaves outside off stump, and there is no run. A little the retrenchment period for Ben Stokes before the next onslaught.
Jeff Perkins says that umpire Goff is fooling Jason Holder by making correct decisions after the rather shambolic performance on the on-field umpire, certainly in some spells at Southampton. And Otto Seyaman says the test match is on. Here comes the West Indies comeback rally. So we're being exhorted to rally round the West Indies. Why not?
The West Indies need all the people rallying around them they can get in a socially distanced, appropriate manner, of course. Well wide of off stump from Shannon Gabriel, bowling very aridly dry to Ben Stokes, and through to the keeper it goes. There is no run. I suppose this is a plan of sorts, and it's working, sort of. Which is very faint praise indeed.
I mean, if you've got Ben Stokes down the other end on 161 out, of course you bowl wide of the off stump. Make him go and chase it. What else should you do? You can't bowl into his arc and make him take the ball.
Yeah, no, I think that's right on a pitch that is doing a little bit, but not a huge amount, very fast, and with a bowling attack that's down a man. I think this is sort of clever percentage play from a Holder. This is shortish and back of a length. I think trying to tempt Stokes to try and smash this over square leg. He's in behind it solidly though and blocks into the leg side. There is no run.
Yeah, I think that's good from Shannon Gabriel. I can understand hiding the ball outside off stump. You're quite right. But on the other hand, you've got to keep him honest. So the odd one that's an effort ball that gets up around the rib cage is, I think, quite important. They don't need to bowl it sort of 2 or 3 times an over, but you need one in the over that just makes the batsman think, I'm not going to come running down the track now.
Yeah, absolutely. Good luck running down the track to Shannon Gabriel as he's in to Ben Stokes, continuing round the wicket, very wide on the crease, and Stokes wanted to have a drive at that, but leaves it alone through to the keeper. There is no run. I think he is thinking that there are even more runs to be had later in the day after tea. If we think the West Indies bowlers are tired now, wait until it gets an hour into the last session. The lights are coming on at Old Trafford, disturbing the rest of some birds. 3:56 for 5, 1 ball left of the 133rd over.
We've got a nice little story in a tweet at the end of the over.
Lovely. The umpires have had a chat with Shannon Gabriel about his follow-through. Not an official warning yet for running on the wicket. Oh, so we've got a Alzari Joseph update too. Last ball of the over. A very full delivery, swinging into the feet of Ben Stokes. think it's going down leg, not dissimilar to the delivery he got Rory Burns out with in the first innings at Southampton, but I think swinging too much and going down leg. The umpire says no, and West Indies have no recourse to review, so it will remain non-out, and I'm pretty sure that Michael Goff's got another one right. That was going down leg. Gary, how did you see that?
I saw it as going down leg. I think the difference was with Rory Burns as he got quite well across to the offside, where Stokes was pretty much camped on his leg stump there. I'd be surprised if that was even umpire's call.
Yeah, agreed. The Alzari Joseph update. He has tricep tendon pain, but will be back after tea. He might be wishing at some point that he wasn't.
Brian Barish's story, whose handle is Barish USAFL, which perhaps gives something to the story. So it's cricket. I saw it in a book when I was 7 or 8, 1989 or so, and was fascinated by it. But it was never on TV here. I ended up getting a video game demo and then bought Cricket 2007 imported from England and was hooked.
Hold that anecdote as Butler faces up to Roston Chase around the wicket, over the wicket rather, he turns it on the bounce to short leg, is no run. Recommence anecdote.
Yeah, well, that's the end of it. But to be hooked via a book and then a video game, we all come to this wonderful game through different routes, and that's one of the more esoteric ones.
Yeah, we are very glad you are here. However you got here, Butler turns this watchfully from outside off stump to mid wicket, and there is no run. Good news that Alzari Joseph's injury is not too serious.
Yeah, I mean, it helps.
Very wide outside off stump, and Butler, who doesn't play the cut that often, cuts this one nicely enough. There's no one within about 40 yards of where that ball intercepts the sponge, and Joss Butler has his first boundary.
It's Nissan She. It's Nissan She.
That was the ball of someone who has been bowling for a very long time.
Yeah, he got the treatment.
As Chase is in, how will he follow up that wide long hop? He'll follow it with a perfectly decent delivery outside off stump, which Butler pushes pleasantly into the offside. It's a chase for Shea Hope from mid-off, sort of set halfway back to the boundary to the cover region. They come through 4-2, and Roston Chase can metaphorically raise a bat because he's brought up his 100 for 4 in his 30 overs. He's bowled redoubtably for his team again. Butler on to 8 of 13, 2 balls left of the over, 362 for 5. Turning to leg slip, but turning off the pad to leg slip. It pitched on leg and was turning even further. Jason Holder with his bucket hands takes that leg slip. There is no run. The last ball of the over as the floodlights shine on Roston Chase's closely shaved head. And this one turns again into the leg slip region, this time off the thigh pad as Butler manoeuvres bat and gloves out of the way. 362 for 5 after 134 overs.
Yes, Warboy Palm says, would now be the time to have a bash and declare with half an hour to go? Well, I think they're probably doing that. There's Annie Chave, our very own Annie Chave, who says, don't let me down, Josh. So she's hoping that Butler will deliver. And we've also got Nestle Boy informing me that the owner of the estate that the Hurlingham Club is now on was once owned by Richard Naylor, someone of whom I am unaware. Jeff Perkins says Joseph has a bruise of many colours, which is very good. Well, you'll certainly be dreaming a dream if West Indies win this Test match. And Brian Barish says, I'm glad you enjoyed that antidote, although admittedly I forgot to uncheck you from the reply.
I
think he means anecdote, but still.
Yeah, Gabriel bowling his 6th over in a row now, which is a lot of effort for him at the best of times, and these are not the worst of times, but they are not the best. He's round the wicket into Ben Stokes and he blocks it into the onside. There is no run, and then grimaces towards the sky.
I was going to say, in these COVID days, anybody malapropism or whatever it is for anecdote to antidote is perfectly acceptable.
Someone was talking about flying ants earlier and having antibodies.
Yes, that was Jeff Perkins pointing out as well. Antibodies.
I thought that was a good one, to be honest.
It is.
Yeah. Not a high degree of difficulty, but absolutely nailed the dismount.
I bought a television subscription service, so I'll refer to it in a moment.
As Ben Stokes glowers at Shannon Gabriel, who's round the wicket to the England vice-captain. This is delivery that is attempting to get Ben Stokes to slash this from outside off stump. He does not slash, and there is no run.
I bought something called Shudder TV, where you get a 7-day free trial, and I bought it for the splendid Japanese cult comedy horror One Cut of the Dead, which is every bit as good as the as word of mouth says. But anyway, it's Shudder TV has got lots of kind of horror movies and horror series on. There are just loads and loads and loads of films about flying ants, sharks, killer bees, wasps, all kinds.
Monster bee movies as Gabriel's in. Finally, Stokes gets one somewhere near where he can hit it, and he fails to hit it because it's been so long. Comes off the pad and rolls down to long leg, and it's going to be, sure, that's 2 leg buys. Yes, 364 for 5. Stokes remains on 163.
Anyway, I'll just finish off the story because.
Oh no! Wait, it runs. Apologies.
It's the only place. It's the only place where I can see that you can watch Werner Herzog's Nosferatu free, and I haven't seen that for about 30 years. So sometime over the weekend, I shall indulge myself with a bit of Gothic Herzog.
I tell a lie. That was runs to Ben Stokes. 163 he is now, off 334. This is, of course, his highest test score in England. Is 258, which he scored in about a session and a half. In Cape Town, of course, in 2016, as Gabriel continues to charge in, edged, and I don't think that carried to Jason Holder. Oh, it doesn't matter, it's a no ball anyway. Oh, Shannon.
Over the line! Huh? I'm sorry, Smokey, you were over the line, that's a foul.
Jason Holder shrugs those heavily burdened shoulders. Judging by that, it might actually have carried. It's a good delivery from Shannon Gabriel from around the wicket, straightened a little bit, and the edge falls short of Jason Holder, but it is nevertheless a no ball. At least the second in this spell from Shannon Gabriel, who has had an issue with this throughout his career. Ben Stokes does not look in the best of ways. He's grimacing now at Gabriel. He's been in for a long time. Full delivery, which Stokes jabs the bat down on and takes a very strolled single indeed down to Shamar Brooks at long off. They come through for 1. I wonder if the light is not as easy as the TV cameras make it appear.
Yeah, bad light suits me. Yeah, we can go off.
The light always seems worse at Old Trafford because your eye is drawn to the beautiful pavilion, now unfortunately largely masked by a sight screen. But because that was red brick, it always seemed to make Manchester's sort of lowering skies, if that's the right word, even more sort of grey.
Yeah, Trent Bridge had that same problem with its pavilion, so redesigned now. Gabriel's into Butler. That's a full toss, which Butler misses out on and can only punch down the ground to Kemar Roach at mid-off. There is no run. Gabriel's surprised batters a couple of times with that full toss that hasn't been advantage has not been taken off.
Yeah, and actually, just going back to what you said earlier on, Knackle, about Stokes grimacing, I just wonder if, so how many balls has he faced? 336. The other thing to take him on board in terms of return to Test cricket is the mental aspect of playing long innings. They've not been in the regular, they're not been in the regular zone of doing it, so it's the mental tiredness that might be kicking in now.
Yeah. Lots of laughs and smiles from the West Indians. The spirits are up, which is good to see. Alex Wharf, the reserve umpire, by the way, is waiting with a light meter, so there will be a light reading at some point. This one rises sharply on Butler from back of the length. Not bad from Shannon Gabriel, given that he's now bowled 7 overs on the trot, and Butler fends it in front of him. There is no run. 365, 6 for 5 rather. 135 overs gone, and we will now get a light meter reading.
We've got some tweets as well. Anna Forsyth says, after being vaguely interested in the Ashes and Freddie Flintoff growing up, I properly got into cricket because I was stuck at home writing my master's thesis during the 2013 Ashes. Would be interested to hear more listeners' stories of how they got into the game. Dave Sarah says, any sign of the match referee checking out Brathwaite's elbow when he bowled? Also, what are the odds of Denley getting a final summer test if there were any injured batters? So I think the regulations, Knackle, you'll know the regulations on referrals for.
You can't call someone in the middle of a series now. It goes to a panel, basically. So the match referee, I think, can report bowlers to a panel who then adjudicate on the basis of a closer analysis, and you can be sometimes. Usually, you'll be allowed to bowl pending testing. Craig Brathwaite has been banned from bowling before now for exceeding the allowed 15 degrees of extension at the point of release. Roston Chase, no such concerns. A very rhythmical and orthodox off-spinning action. A little bit of turn. Stokes defends from the crease. There is no run. I don't think the West Indies would not be unhappy about how this last 40 minutes has gone, given where they were. Stokes has visions of smashing Chase back over his head. He takes one step forward and then lets it go through to Dowrich behind the stumps. There is no run.
Yeah, Stokes has been somewhat becalmed since the Sibley and Pope dismissals. He's kind of had to work out his game plan again and let Butler get in.
So this was fired into the pads by Roston Chase. Good change up, but Stokes does well, manages to knurl it around the corner, and that's the first boundary for a little while.
1 2 ka 4 4 2 ka 1. My name is Lakhan. My name is Lakhan.
Wait the signal from the umpire whether that was leg buys. It's actually quite hard to tell whether it's inside edge or a bit of pad there, but it's 4 somethings anyway. 366 or 5.
Yeah, this is a lengthened session, and Ben Stokes looks physically and mentally tired. He captained for the first time in his adult life 5 days of Test cricket only a few days ago. I think we can excuse him for looking somewhat running on empty.
Yeah, I mean he has been told a few times to stop training so hard. So much does he ask of himself. Chase in slip outside off stump, and Stokes is very relieved to be able to just leave that outside off stump. There is no run. The previous boundary, by the way, was a leg bye, or a set of 4 leg byes rather. So no advance to batter's score or indeed bowler's analysis. As Chase is in, third ball of the over. Stokes lunges forward and blocks this off the inside part of the bat. There is no run. Yes, you can almost see the effort it's taking him to wield that bat.
You'll probably need to have some Victoria sponge cake for tea.
A vigorous rub down, I think. They don't usually do ice baths mid-game, but we'll see. As this is outside off something flat batted by Ben Stokes. No power or timing at all. There is no run. I was telling a lie actually earlier when it said there were 2 balls left, because again Sky's graphics have gone phooey. That is in fact the end of the over. Roston Chase, and of course it was actually 4 off the bat, because again they didn't add to the batter's score on screen. So Ben Stokes is 168 with 17 fours and 2 sixes. Just Butler is 8 off 17 with 1 for England, 370 for 5.
Woy Pond says there seems to be a lot of turn. If Best doesn't get 5, he should be dropped.
Oh, come on.
Seems a little harsh. Leah, the Wicket Witch, says Wikipedia informs me that Richard Naylor was a professional hooligan, which kind of makes sense in some ways, given where the Hurlingham Club is. Brian Barish says apparently we're having a real-life murder hornet movie in the Pacific Northwest, so no need for a subscription. So that's the latest plague that's visiting the United States. And Lee Wicket Witch says Murnau's Nosferatu is much better than the Herzog version, which is ruined by Klaus Madman Kinski. Well, he is an acquired taste. Nestle Boy says, thanks Gary, I'm sitting here doing a Werder Herzog voice to no one in particular.
Well, we do have a change of bowling, and it's the man who's bowled 1.5 overs because he had to fill in for an over, or 5 balls for an over when Alzari Joseph went off. It's this man.
Spelling ain't strong. Can you tell me if I spelled your name all wrong? I wrote it.
Brathwaite in over the wicket, quite round arm, very full and flat, and Butler nudges it to mid wicket. There is no run. As Brathwaite is in bowling in his long sleeve jumper. This ball barely arrives at Joss Butler, and he nudges it off the hips to mid wicket. There is no run. Real test of ego when you're being bowled at by Craig Brathwaite, I think. he's in. It's one that he slightly undercuts, a little bit fuller, and Butler can turn this square into the onside, and they come through for a single. Butler to 9 off 20. Very much the sense that, as for most of yesterday, neither team wants to make a mistake at this point, and that is very much informing the strategy and gameplay.
Yes, once again, very slow going, but we're maybe 2 overs before tea.
As Brathwaite into Ben Stokes. This one dies as it makes contact with pitch, and Ben Stokes goes back and just persuades the ball down to Shamar Brooks at long on. They come through for a single, 169 for Ben Stokes. Yes, it's 3:49. Probably one more over after this, maybe 2. 3 balls left of this. Oh no, not 3 balls left of this over. I must not get confused by the fact by the bowler's analysis of Craig Brathwaite, because of course he bowled 5 balls of an over. This one turns from outside off stump and is blocked into the leg side by Butler. There is no run. 2 balls left of the over. England 372 for 5. At tea, David Brooke will be talking to various West Indies minds, including Toby Radford again, who's been superb with his analysis and very generous with his time throughout this Test match, the former West Indian batting coach. This is full on the pads. Butler turns it into the leg side for a single. He moves to 10. Stokes 169. England 373 for 5.
Yeah, and Brian Barish says, okay, I feel better about sharing my story then. I felt a bit of a goober initially, lol. That was a lovely story about, we've all got different origin stories of cricket, and that was a particularly interesting one. Sally R56 says, I seem to recall many derogatory comments about Stephen Smith's Alice band by his fans at Guerrilla Cricket. Current count of headbands in the England team playing this test is 6. Hashtag COVID haircut.
Yeah, that's all true. I mean, I don't think Dennis Lilly wore a headband for quite a lot of his career. And
I can't see any West Indians with headbands, I must say.
how many of them have got? There's not very many dreads or anything in this West Indian team. There's a lot of shaven heads. Butler goes back, and as Chase drops a little bit short, not that short, Butler read the length quickly, pulled it powerfully out to deep square leg. They come through for a single. So I don't know how many West Indians are in need of a headband.
No, my favourite West Indian haircut, maybe a little bit before your time, Mash, but I don't know if you remember the outstanding left arm all-rounder Bernard Julian.
I do.
He used to have the most amazing throw I'd ever seen as a kid growing up in Liverpool.
Michael Holding had a pretty good throw in his younger days. As chases in round the wicket. This one turns from middle stump, and Ben Stokes plays the Marcus Trescothic leave at it, drawing back inside line of ball, and almost looking up to the England balcony and saying to Dom Bess, see? Yeah.
Yeah, and Bernard Julian was an example of an excellent number 8, of course, very early days.
Leave from Ben Stokes, not playing a stroke, but I think because the ball is turning, Richard Illingworth has no hesitation in giving that not out. It hit him outside the line of off stump. Obviously that doesn't matter when he's not playing a shot. But I think Ben Stokes is trusting the turn to take that past off stump. Chase was furious. He was denied a chance at a 5. It's closer to off stump than I thought it was, but I still think it's missing. You see Roston Chase jumping around and turning and putting hands to head and lying flat on the ground. He's put in a hell of an effort, Roston Chase, in this test match. That's a good delivery, almost Jadeja in the mirror. Very flat and turning sharply at pace. Blocked by Stokes into the offside. There is no run. Yes, this LBW appeal was missing off stump comfortably, so even if the West Indies had a review left and they'd used it, they would have wasted it on that occasion.
I'm surprised they were even appealing so much for it. Look, never a chance.
Short, and Stokes trusting the bounce and turn. Flat bats this out to Kemar Roach, who's marooned out there on the cover boundary to the left-hander. They come through for 1. Butler on strike, last ball of the over. We will get one more over in before tea, and then we'll hand over to David Brooke and friends.
Got some good tweets for the gap between the penultimate and ultimate over.
Very good. Roston Chase 4 for 106 to go with his 4 wickets in the first test. Does considerably better against England than he does against other opposition, but he has bowled well in the circumstances. It's a good stop from Jason Holder at leg slip, because that ball died on him. It was didn't really get up, and Butler turned it off the middle of the bat into the ground in the leg slip region, and Holder reached those long limbs down and plucked it to stop it going for 4. Butler on 11, Stokes on 170, England 375 for 5. Rare riches for England in the last few years.
Yeah, and Jessica Missing Sports says, growing up in Australia, I got into cricket from a very young age, and then more recently I've started to really appreciate the beauty of red ball cricket. And Kerry Narden says, remember Al McPherson, known as The Body? Yes. There was a rugby league player, Al McPherson. You guessed it. His name was the Antibody.
Very good. Sporting
and Otto
Sayaman
says, first cricket memory, my dad would go into some hospitality suite and leave me and my friends to roam around Centurion Park. Priority was to get stuff signed by players. And a little plug for Guerrilla Origins, a podcast series that Tony Bishop hosted, and we had a lot of fun.
That was me hosting that.
Oh, was it? Yeah, it was you. Sorry, Tony was doing Guerrilla shit.
Brathwaite continuing his third actual over, and he turns this into the onside, and they come through for a single.
Ackle, perhaps you could tweet out the Guerrilla Origins.
Yeah, we've done a couple of episodes of that. We had one with was it you, Grubby, and Annie? Yeah, and we've had another one of those. Those have been fun. I've enjoyed doing those during lockdown, getting to reminisce. 376 for 5 as Brathwaite spears this into middle stump. Well, spears is a bit energetic. Sends a paper plane down at Joss Butler, who blocked it into the onside. There is no run. That's down leg side and holds up a little bit in the pitch, and Butler's content to just turn it to backwards square, the man on the 45 really, and there is no run. Only 3 balls left before tea, 376 for 5. There's plenty of runs to be had later. Oh, that was short, and Butler thought, aha, here's my chance, but it doesn't bounce, and he pushes it up to the long-suffering Shannon Gabriel down at long on for a single.
Very good. Jeff Perkins, reflecting on our new partners, believes that Hot Mike needs frequent ice baths during matches.
Yeah, very good. Oh my god, that's even more round arm from Craig Brathwaite. Why doesn't he just go down on one knee like Kedar Jadhav? He can make it fun. Stokes punches this off the back foot to long on, and there is no run. We see that the England dressing room has a maximum occupancy of slightly less than a London bus right now at 18. Last ball before tea is tossed up, and Butler defends solidly in the manner of a man who knows that was the last ball before tea. He's on 12, Stokes is on 172, and England have made serene progress to 378 for 5 after 5 sessions of this test match. 139 overs of toil for the West Indies. 114 runs in that session, mostly off the broad bat of Ben Stokes, who was on 172, his highest test score in England. West Indies have stuck at their task, but this has been a punishing old session, Mashal.
Yeah, it has been, and I think, in fact, how you summed it up is perfect. But ultimately, given the conditions, given where the game is at, given the state of play, I'm not saying West Indies will be happy, far from it. But in fact, no, they just won't be happy.
No, and the time for happiness was the West Indies. The time for happiness to become a factor was this morning with the with England at 207 for 3, but Stokes and Sibley have batted England into a fantastic position. The wickets to fall in this session, Dom Sibley gone for 120 off 372, trying to speed things up and be unselfish for his team, but holding out to Kemar Roach off Ruston Chase for 120. Ollie Pope became Ruston Chase's 4th victim, LBW to him for 7 off 8, trapping the ball between pads, mildly comical. But Stokes is on 172, Butler's on 12. We welcome back to the virtual furniture David Brooke, and I'll just press a couple of buttons to admit our tea time guest Toby Radford.
Very good of you, Knuckles, to let him in. We've got the waiting room facility here, but without the copies of the Reader's Digest. So it's going to be, I imagine, Toby, your allegiance is still very much with the West Indies. You're still in touch with a lot of them. So how would you, I don't know what mood we find you in today, Toby, after watching that partnership.
I think...
Welcome, Toby.
Tough day for them, isn't it? Tough day, 2 days in the field. Going to be some tired bodies, some tired legs, and I think when they do eventually get their chance to bat, which could still be some way off, the guys have got to get themselves back into gear because they're going to be a bit fatigued, aren't they, having been in the field for 2 days.
I mean, you must have been part, as when you were a batting coach there, Toby Radford, you must have been part of a few games like this where an opposition piles on runs. What do you say to the guys when they troop in, when it's, this type of score?
Well, sometimes it's through no fault of their own. Teams have played well against them, and they, Sibley, I thought, left well yesterday. A lot of balls past the bat this morning. I think they said there's 17 past the bat, I think, in the first hour, and it just didn't find an edge, and that can happen. That's cricket, isn't it? On another day, those nicks can go behind, and it hold a different outlook. So you've got to try and be positive because at some point you've got to go into bat. My feeling is, and this genuinely isn't after the event, I said this I think to you before yesterday, I think they got it wrong at the toss. I know England were criticised last week for batting first. My feeling was yesterday when the West Indies won the toss and decided to bowl, they probably thought they could deliver what they delivered a few days ago in Southampton. The pitch is generally better in Old Trafford. It'll turn and bounce more when you bat last on it. And the other thing, of course, the bowlers have just toiled and they've only had 2 days in between, so there wasn't a big turnaround for the likes of Gabriel and Roach and Jason himself. So personally, I'd have liked to have seen the guys go in, have first use on the wicket. It wouldn't have been easy, but I don't think it would have been as tough as it was first innings down in Southampton. And also the forecast wasn't as bad yesterday, so you wouldn't have been going on and off the way they were down there. So I would have loved them to have won the toss and batted. They didn't. They're paying a little bit for it now, quite a lot for it now, and it's going to be an uphill task. I mean, you've got to try and come out and you don't want to lose this and put yourself under pressure for the last one. So you've got to do everything you can now to try and make sure you don't go in the loss.
How do those decisions work, Toby? At what point would Jason Holder have made that decision? Would there have been a decision about the toss with Phil Simmons? Would they have decided definitely before the toss what they were going to do?
Oh, that would have been a management decision. It would have been a captain buying in with the coach, the bowling coach. Maybe the bowlers said, "Look, we're really up for this, and we want to go for it." They bowled so well last week in Southampton, but they were put into that position. England, there's sometimes a different psychology when you choose to do it, because in choosing to do it, you put a little bit more pressure on yourself. You've now got to knock them over, and then sometimes you can try a bit too hard.
Yeah,
whereas last week, they were put into that position. So it's easy to say now, but I would have. It's a different type of pitch in Old Trafford, and my concern is batting last on it when I could see Best coming into the game. It's already spinning for Roston, and I think with the bounce in Old Trafford, it's very different to playing down in the Rose Bowl.
Yeah, a couple of things on that, Toby. I mean, it struck me as a defensive decision to win the toss, and not so much to bowl first, but to not bat first, as it were.
Yeah, I mean. Yeah, I hope it wasn't, because they batted, they've gone and chased 200 from 30 to 3 and they've won the game. And I think, as when I did my review last week, what had pleased me so much was that with the way they batted in the first test was with nearly all the batters had contributed in one or two of those innings. So they should have had every confidence with the batters that we're all getting some kind of form. We've all had a score and take the initiative. They may have felt they've knocked them over once, they'll do it again. But as I say, a 2-day turnaround. Shannon Gabriel's come off a long injury, so he's not at his fittest. Roach isn't at his youngest, so it's a very short turnaround. Is not easy for a bowling attack like that.
Yeah, and Roach has obviously gone a long time. He's been much remarked upon without taking a Test wicket since he got Virat Kohli first ball in Kingston. And you talk about Don Best. I know you said yesterday that you would have gone in with the attack that they've gone in with, but Rakeem Cornwall could find himself thinking, with the turn that Roston Chase has already got, and even the odd one, and I'm sure we'll see Best turn the ball, Rakeem Cornwall will be thinking himself unlucky not to have played, put it that way.
Yeah, I mean, look, it's turned a lot already, isn't it? It's turned from very early in the game, so that's not going to reduce in any way. So he may feel like that. I understand why they went in with the same side. I don't really have a problem with that, but I think when you have the option to bat first, don't assume that Old Trafford is going to play exactly the same way as the Rose Bowl. And the stats would show you as well, much trickier to bat second on it, and generally a flatter, harder, more bouncy type of turn. So I think they would have known all that, and they obviously should have ideally taken that into account when they made their decision.
Final point. Final point before I hand back to David. obviously, playing well can cover a multitude of sins, as it were. So whatever you end up doing, you've got to do it well. And the West Indies have not. They've been both sides of the wicket, and they're at times there doesn't seem to have been a clear plan to take wickets on this pitch, particularly with the two new balls.
Yeah, I think yes, I agree with you. I think yesterday they didn't bowl as well with the new ball as they did in Southampton. Southampton from ball one, I mean, they were on the money, everyone. Yesterday Shannon took a while to get going, and they're all sighters, aren't they? Batters are getting in, and I'm not taking anything away. I think England have played really well. Sibley